Welcome to College Football Monday, a Sons of Saturday live show brought to you by Jack and Coke. You can see that can right on your screen. I'm your host, Pete B. I've got Sam Jesse here. Sam, you're rocking a special t-shirt tonight?
Yeah, they cover the spread. They were a Miami volleyball shirt. How about that? We wore this. Our Cam Underwood, I told him if they covered the spread against Florida State, I would wear it on the next College Football Monday. I was in New York and didn't have the shirt for that one. Now I'm wearing it. So shout out to Cam. We'll send you a little screen grab of this.
That's right. Cam Underwood joined us a couple weeks ago to preview that game. And let me tell you what, their season went this way and Florida State's went this way.
You know, when I don't want to toot my own horn, but when I said like we might look back on that Florida State Alabama game week 1 and be like, that was kind of weird.
You did say that.
It has been a long time since Florida State won an ACC game.
Cal last year, right?
14-9 in like September.
Right. When the Calgorithm was starting to feel themselves. They couldn't pull it off in Tallahassee. Their only ACC win in the last 2 seasons. Well, we're going to get into everything going on in college football. This is our national show, and we're also going to do a heavy dose of what the Hokies were up to down in Atlanta on Saturday. Robert Irby is going to join us in about 30 minutes. Help us with a couple different things, including a recap of Georgia-Auburn, top 5 quarterbacks in college football with a special criteria. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. That should be fun. And so many things. This is a loaded show. We got to talk about James Franklin in just a minute. But first, we need Sam to give us a cheers.
Well, I got a real dark beer tonight. We'll talk about that a little later. But my cheers is just to content, man, because you and I mean, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we were like, shit, the Hokies are bad. What are we going to do? Now it's like, how do we fit all of this content in our 2 weekly shows between College Football Monday and the 2 Deep show on Wednesday? It's absolutely insane. I was thinking about it, making my notes. I was like, we could have a 3-hour show if we wanted to. So cheers to content, buddy.
Cheers, buddy. I got the McAdoo's glass. Still holding strong.
I got the Casa del Barco glass. For those from Richmond, you'll know.
Ooh,
the one on the canal, not the one in Short Pump. But
Short Pump, that's too bougie for you?
No, the one in Short Pump is pretty stale. You got to go to the original one in the canal. It's a pretty cool spot. I think they have over 90 tequilas at their bar.
Well, if you are watching on YouTube, and you should be, and if you're watching on X, come on over to YouTube. It's easier to get in the chat, send us a comment, give us a like, all that kind of stuff. We need subscribers. We need likes because we're on our march to 5,000 subscribers. Sons of Saturday channel is getting closer and closer, and that is awesome. Week 7. I would call this week in college football moving weekend. You know how they have like moving day in golf?
Yeah, it felt very like Saturday morning at the Masters. Yes.
So there are 5 new teams that got ranked yesterday. USC, Texas, Utah, Cincinnati, and Nebraska. Now, some of them were in the rankings earlier, but 5 that weren't in last week's rankings in this week. That's a pretty big change. Indiana took out Oregon to move up to number 3 in the AP poll. They are behind Ohio State and Miami. Indiana received 3 first-place votes. That's going to be one of the first games we get to in a little bit. Oklahoma drops 8 spots down to number 14 after a disappointing Red River. USF is up to 19 and the top-ranked G6 team after their big win. 3 spots ahead of Memphis. Navy and Tulane just outside the rankings. Miami is number 2, GT number 12, and UVA 18 for our ACC friends. FSU drops out of the rankings after their loss to Pitt. So that's our rankings recap. But the biggest news that kind of came out of this weekend, Sam, was James Franklin being fired at Penn State.
Yeah, I'd say so.
$50 million buyout has been paid or will be paid in the coming years.
Yeah, we'll see what the actual details of that are. It's not my money. I don't care. I think bigger picture is it feels like every single program in the country, whether you are Penn State or whether you are Kent State, they see the writing on the wall and they see what's on the horizon here in about 5 years. And they know, hey, we might have one more shot at who our coach is to get our program right over the next 4 years before we see a drastically different college football world. And to me, like, yeah, you can talk about can't win the big game, 2 really lackluster performances, felt like they were hitting their ceiling with Franklin. To me, it's more so of like Penn State understands they had really good opportunities for natties the last 2 years and didn't get it. And the way that this sport is going, you can't bank on being a 10-win team every year anymore.
That is something that's being talked about, right? Pate was getting into that topic a little bit. Like, look at what Florida State happened last year after an undefeated season. But Franklin being fired comes on the heels of losing to Northwestern as 3 touchdown favorites. Aller's now out for the year too, which is just insult to injury or injury to insult. And this was, of course, the week after the UCLA debacle. I guess I'll start just here. Like, were you surprised that they fired him? Would you have fired him?
I'm surprised they didn't wait till the end of the year, but I think because you've had, at the time they pulled the trigger, there were 7 other major jobs open. I think they felt like they didn't want to be one of the last ones to the party to be able to talk to agents and candidates. So that's why they pulled the trigger when they did.
Yeah, and that is becoming more and more the norm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's starting to go south, like you said at the beginning of the segment, I was also surprised that it happened now because of all the things he's done at Penn State. This wasn't a short tenure. This was a long time. They even put out the post, "Thanks, James Franklin," on X yesterday, which just seemed odd after you fired him. But
yeah.
What are you going to do? Although last week when we talked about this after UCLA, we said that his tenure at Penn State was effectively over. I didn't expect that effective to be more or less immediately, but that's what they want. And it seems like the relationship had run its course.
Yeah, I think that's maybe the best way to put it. And also, I have been active in the chat about this, but sometimes it's not about getting a better coach. It's about getting a different coach. Mm-hmm. And to me, this felt like a move where a lot of people around Penn State said, we just need something different because the shtick, the talking points, the methodologies, they weren't helping Penn State reach its goals. And I don't think that really has anything to do with James Franklin isn't a good football coach. I think it just means like most coaching tenures don't
hold that thought for 1 second, because I want to talk about the Franklin as a candidate at VT in just 1 minute, but
okay,
this will send shockwaves through college football. Like the fact that this happened now, the fact that when you pay all that money to get rid of him, it means that you either have a candidate in mind or you're swinging big. And that probably means you're taking from another Power 4 job, which then creates the dominoes that people are talking about.
Yeah, 100%. And you look at where at the upper echelon of coaching, right? The biggest programs, there has been a general stability, right? I mean, you have Oklahoma got a DC and Brent Venables, Texas got Sarkisian, but he's been there for a while. Day has been at Ohio State for a while. Franklin had been at Penn State for a while. Even like Lincoln Riley's been at USC.
That's the 4th year at USC.
Yeah. Freeman looks well entrenched at Notre Dame. Like there aren't a lot of like big ones that are looking for a coach. And maybe Penn State feels like they can take advantage of this chaos by being clearly the biggest brand that is currently in the market, because we don't know what Florida's
now.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know what Florida's going to do, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the only realistic one that could come open. I don't think anywhere else is. Like, I don't think Oklahoma's coming open. Texas isn't coming open.
We can talk about that too, but like if LSU loses a few games, if Oklahoma loses a few more games, like we're just at the beginning of conference play here,
But now that Penn State is also open, do you maybe go, maybe we'll give them one more year?
That's the thing that I was thinking about Florida too. Like, if they're on the fence at all about Napier, which they may not be, but if they're on the fence at all, they might be like, you know what? Let's sit this carousel out.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you might also see some schools promote from within to avoid carousel. UCLA comes to mind, Arkansas comes to mind, but we can talk about that a little bit more later as well. Not shocked by the news, but Yeah, this is, what Bud Elliott said on Cover 3, hope he's Mark Richt and not their Bo Pelini, which if you
Yeah.
know college football, you know what that means. Like
Mm-hmm.
Georgia upgraded after Mark Richt. Nebraska, it's taken them a while and they still haven't quite gotten back to what Bo was doing.
Ironically, Matt Rule might be one of those guys finding his way to Happy Valley.
So there's been heavy debate about Franklin and his candidacy at VT. Our friend Billy Ray Mitchell did a video yesterday, which was well received, or at least very engaging. People, a lot of likes, a lot of comments, a lot of opinions. And I will say James Franklin has been a divisive candidate among Hokie Nation. Lots of strong opinions in both directions. Those in favor pointing to his record at Penn State and really saying, like, you're crazy if you don't think that he's the top candidate for a job like Virginia Tech now, and maybe dismissing what happened this season a little. How do you feel about that?
I mean, if you're stacking up the resumes of the current candidates, he far and away has the best resume. I mean, that's not a discussion at all. And think about it, like how many active coaches or relatively active coaches have won at a higher level than he has? Kirby, Dabo, and who else? That's probably
Sark.
it. Sark, maybe. No, he's won more than Sark has at a consistent level.
Sark went to a natty.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, like, it would be his.
He has
you're
one
doing the
Big Ten
resume
championship. There's a lot of coaches out there that have one power championship.
That's true. That's true. I think for me personally, and I'll probably get more into this on Too Deep when we're talking more Virginia Tech specific, because I would rather. It's a conversation that deserves more than a few minutes, right?
Well,
but
we have set aside some minutes, so
okay, okay. You want to go? Like, we'll go into it. So, there's a Twitter account. I believe it's like called Arkansas Quant or something, but he's a Arkansas fan, obviously, but does data analytics for college football. And he put out a study like last week or week before about coaching hires and their backgrounds being offensive or defensive, and do they lead to success, like more wins over expectation. He did like a beautifully done study on it. And what he came across was offensive minded coaches in the modern era of football, like transfer portal, college football playoff, do considerably better than defensive minded coaches. And one of the reasons he thought for that was, a lot of people have theorized, how they treat their quarterback, what they see in their quarterback, how they handle practice, all of that. And you can go into a multitude of different reasons on why it works, but the numbers pretty much pointed out to, hey, for every one Nick Saban, you have 2.5 Lane Kiffins. For every one Kirby Smart, you have 2.5 Kalen DeBoers, right? These coaches who are offensive minded that just win everywhere they go is much more likely than a coach who's defensive minded.
Are you linking that back to like the Aller problem, the lack of development of quarterbacks?
So here's the thing. James Franklin is an offensive guy, right? I mean, that's kind of where he leans now. He's a very archaic offensive guy, but he's an offensive guy.
He's been a head coach for so long that
right. And so like when it happens, like when it doesn't work, why doesn't it work? And those are the intrinsic things that are inside of a program that from the outside we'll never know. But something I did find in kind of my cursory research, trying to take it a step further, was, hey, these coaches that worked out, these offensive coaches, like which ones worked out and why? And funny enough, one of the best examples I found of the overarching success stories was Justin Fuente at Virginia Tech, where you have a very offensive minded coach who has a little bit of head coaching experience, who comes in and has either a sitting defensive guy who knows what they're doing and can handle everything, or brings in an experienced defensive guy who can handle their thing. And they say, look, you handle that side of the ball. I'm just going to handle the offensive side of the ball and be the head coach. Those were kind of the success stories that worked the best. And I mean, you look at Justin Fuente, that is what worked, right? He had Bud Foster running the defense. He was running the offense. They kind of split up that time and they went 9-3
for a little bit.
Years.
Yeah.
Now, when did it not work? It didn't work when he brought in a new defensive coordinator who didn't really know what they were doing, and he had to look at both sides of the ball. And then all of a sudden his offensive coordinator wasn't as experienced and didn't really know what they were doing. That's when it fell apart. And as I'm looking at the Virginia Tech coaching search, and I'm looking at a guy like Dan Mullen, Alex Golish. These are guys who can come in and say, I got offense. Give me one of my guys to be offensive coordinator and take some of the scouting away from me, but I got offense. You go out, just find me basically an associate head coach for defense. And that's something I think is really interesting because Franklin kind of breaks that mold, I think, because he is so hands-on on his program and he has really struggled to adapt as time went on. But one of the reasons I think he was successful was he allowed Brent Pry to run just you be defensive guy. Manny Diaz, you be defensive guy. Obviously, it didn't work out this year.
Tom Allen, Jim Knowles.
Tom Allen,
one of our commenters just said, yeah.
You do defense, I'll do everything else. And it works out more than it doesn't. So that'll be kind of something I'm looking for in Virginia Tech's head coaching surge. I'll see if other colleges see stuff like that and want to go more offensive. But that's kind of my spiel.
And I want to just clarify my stance on it because I got a lot of crap on Twitter for saying like I'm not so interested in Franklin. And I want to be clear too. Like I think you know me, Sam, and people that listen to the show, like I'm not like a Danny Cannell type that puts out like really outrageous takes all the time, or Emmanuel Acho who just says stuff just to get a reaction. Like generally when I'm saying something on here, if it sounds a little take-ish, it's tongue in cheek, it's for fun. The James Franklin thing, I just wanted to take a minute to kind of clarify because one, we both follow the sport real close. I feel like I have a decent grip on like what hires would be right for a program at the right time. No one gets it right all the time, especially not guys like us. But I feel like we both have a decent idea of like, oh yeah, that would work or that might not work or whatever. Secondly, my entire family went to Penn State. I have that's the sport and the team I fell in love with watching at a young age and have as much knowledge on them as anyone else besides Tech in college football. So I just wanted to say like, and you certainly don't have to agree with the no James Franklin thing, but I just wanted to say why. And for all the good he's done, Penn State is one of the most well-funded programs in the country, right? Like it is funded at a national championship caliber level. Franklin had every advantage in terms of resources, and he still could not win the big games. He couldn't punch up in those moments. And there's been a little bit of a comparison to Frank Beamer going on that like, oh, well, Frank didn't win the big games. And we're not going to go into it, but Frank's mom and pop budget, as we kind of jokingly referred to it over a long period of time when Tech had zero history, is not comparable to what Franklin just dealt with. Frank had a fraction of what Franklin had. And no, he didn't always win the big games, but he built a program from nothing. So let's just not do the Frank Beamer comparisons if we could respect a legend who we did build a statue of, and every bit of that statue is warranted. It was one of the best tenures in college football history. Let's just say that about Frank Beamer. Penn State has everything in terms of tradition, money, facilities, winning history. They had that all when Franklin got there. I know they're coming off the sanctions, but Bill O'Brien came in there. He did some heavy lifting before James Franklin, and then James Franklin stabilized it further and won. But let's not act like Penn State was Maryland. Let's not act like they were even Indiana. This was a program that had 2 national titles, 7 undefeated seasons over decades upon decades. So I just want to emphasize that. But even if you want to look past the big game failures, which that's really why that's not why I don't want him. I forget about the big game stuff. Let's forget about the fact that he built up an incredible record against the bottom of the Big Ten. Let's move past that. For me, it's what happened this season. That is the biggest thing. It's not that he lost 2 games as a favorite. It's not that he's 3-3 when they were supposed to be natty contenders, or that he hadn't beaten a Power 4 team this year, Sam. It's not even any of that. It's the historic nature of the losses. We had the first top 10 loss to an unranked team, or I should say a winless team in 40 years against UCLA. And he followed that up by losing at home to Northwestern as a 21.5-point favorite. The first time since 1978, a coach has lost back-to-back games as 20-plus point favorites. That's 47 years. What he just did doesn't happen. It does not. It's a generational failure. what he just did. I can't emphasize enough how historic these 2 back-to-back losses were. You need to look into it. So I have a hard time looking past the most recent thing he ever did and a potential coach that we're going to hire for $6 to $10 million having that low a floor. Like, that's a scary thought. And if it doesn't concern you, I'm surprised by that. Like that should concern you. What do you think about that?
Well, it's funny because we talk about like flip side of the same quesadilla a lot. On one hand, yes, you have the resume that blows every other resume out of the water. And the other side of that quesadilla, it's like, oh, this is kind of risky because you're going to pay this guy a lot of money. Like, no matter what, you're going to have to pay him a boatload of money. And you're going to pay him that money to say, all right, here you go. Come to a school and have significantly less talent than you have, significantly less resources and not resources necessarily like current fiscal year budget, but resources in terms of like how your program is set up and the people you have involved and just the army that you have running Penn State football. You're not going to have that. Your home field advantage is about 45,000 people less. That's pretty significant. Now go out and do that again.
Yeah.
That's a lot to ask. And like, for me, that's very risky because if it does succeed at Virginia Tech, guess what? He's gone in 2 or 3 years.
Because that's what we've been seeing around the sport.
Yes.
I mean, the portal has sped up everything, as Brett pointed out in our chat.
You know, he is, if you coach at that high a level, he might dip down a little bit, but he's going to go back up. Look at what we're trying to do with Dan Mullen, bringing him from UNLV back to power conference football at Virginia Tech. You know,
and look how Mike Norvell is recovering from a historically bad season after going undefeated. Like, everyone's like, well, Franklin was just in the playoffs 2 years ago. Right. But that didn't just happen. What just happened was one of the worst failures of a top 5 natty contender that we've seen in college football history.
Yeah.
Like, and that can change a person. So he's a good coach, crowd. I get that. He has been a good coach. He's extremely accomplished. But what Tech needs, if you want to bring it back, it's more nuanced than all that. Like, hiring a coach is not just a resume contest. It's certainly not just the good parts of your resume, which people seem to be focusing on. His record matters, but so does timing and trajectory.
Yeah. And I think too, just to be very Virginia Tech specific, he's very close with Brent Pry, like personally.
He sure is, man.
I don't think that is a move that, from a personal standpoint, that they would make.
Or maybe James is like, awkward. They just fired my buddy.
Fired my friend. Like, I'm not going to go there. And also, like, imagine what Brent Pry is telling him on the side. Like, dude, you don't want to go there. That's what I would be saying. So I think for that aspect, it does feel like a pipe dream in many ways. Even if we need to go out and get Franklin, I think regardless, they're going to have conversations with him.
I mean,
they've probably already reached out.
He is a candidate, and I think that's perfectly rational and reasonable. And I would just say, like, he's been a good coach, right? Past results are not indicative of future returns, and he had the football equivalent of a nervous breakdown. And if I could do a Colin Cowherd, like, if the CEO of Google had a nervous breakdown, a month later, would you go grab that guy and say, you're in charge of my business now? No, you probably let him go to therapy. You let him relax for a year, and then maybe you have a conversation with him. And I think that's like, it's not that his career is not worth merit. It's not that he's a terrible coach. I don't believe that. I believe he's a candidate. I believe he's worth looking into. But the question we need to ask ourselves, the committee needs to ask itself, is he the right man for Virginia Tech right now? And I believe there are righter men than James Franklin right now. And plenty of people disagree with me, and that's fine. I don't think he's right for Virginia Tech right now. To further the point, Sam, he hasn't punched above his weight in a long time. You have to go back to Vanderbilt to really find a time when he punched up. And that is something so many of us hated about Brent Pry, is that he never popped up and beat a team he shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And we need a guy that's going to get the most out of the roster. And
I
do
think
more
that's
with less.
That's another thing too. When I look back and you look at which coaches work and which ones don't, you do have to have some of those very intrinsic, very, I guess, immeasurable things that you instill in a program. Like one thing with Alex Golish, that other than him being a very forward-thinking offensive coach, his team plays like a bunch of psychopaths. Like they fly around the field like their hair's on fire. Every single position, all 22 guys on the field and all 11 guys who play special teams. And it overwhelms their opponents. Like it overwhelmed Boise State in North Texas, and it even overwhelmed Florida. And those things that I'm like, that's something that you need to bring to the table that a James Franklin isn't bringing to the table. He's not. And you also have the instances like, down 28-0 at Michigan, and it's 4th and goal from the 3, and you kick a field goal. And right. Use stuff like that, like not, living in the past offensively for so long and relying so heavily on elite defensive players,
which we've seen on our side of it as well. Like holding on to an offensive coordinator too long, waiting till it's too late, not developing your quarterback, having them not improve year over year. And finally, and maybe not most importantly, but it's worth noting, like his current fan base and administration are paying him $50 million to go away.
Are you hip
That's a ding. That is a ding.
Are you hip to the Adidas conspiracy? That Adidas is
I heard about that. Adidas is going to pay the $50 million because they're becoming the new apparel person for Penn State, and they want it to have a good presence. I've heard that. I don't know if I buy it, but I've heard it.
I just find it fun. Just from a college football drama perspective, that's a fun storyline.
The idea of Franklin recruiting at Virginia Tech is extremely enticing. I hear that. But that's also, those recruits are committing to Penn State.
Yeah, they're committing to Penn State and the Penn State paycheck, right? I would also say,
and the history and the fact that they're close. Like, we are not going to be close to anything when the new coach comes in. Like, it's going to be, you're going to have to recruit way above your skis in order to get even close to similar results.
How many of those guys were really good that came from Virginia, especially Northern Virginia? Like Brandon Smith was a 5-star linebacker out of Louisa. He was pretty good. I think he got hurt. So
there were a bunch of misses.
There was some Slade.
There was misses, but nevertheless, you want to put the numbers on the board, and he was putting the recruiting numbers on the board.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. We'll see, man.
Can we also stop calling people brain dead or crazy if they don't want I
think it's I gotta be totally honest. I don't think when I look at the other openings and then some of the other openings potentially opening up, I don't think James Franklin's going to Virginia.
It's a 0.001% chance. We just needed to have the conversation.
Yeah. And that's, for me, I'm much more interested in what does Dan Mullen look like? What does Golish look like? What does Ryan Silverfield look like? More interested in that.
I want to know what the market's going to be for Franklin. Outside of us, just in general, will SEC teams come calling? Will he fall to a Big 12 or ACC team, which we all know is a little bit lower on the tier depending on the job? I'm just fascinated by it.
I will say what Virginia Tech has that you could sell to them is, hey, you come here, you don't have to play Ohio State every year. That monster under your bed, we can get rid of that real quick.
That's what I want to sell to Eli Drinkwitz. That's what I want to sell. Hey, look at this schedule. It could be pretty nice.
Hey, Eli, that was a tough game against Bama, man. They're so big. They're so fast. Come on over here. Play Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Will
Franklin get the call from Florida or Arkansas or somebody like that? Or will he go to a more desperate school? It's something, and I say desperate, but
does he wait?
Does he sit out a year? Which I kind of think he will, but who knows? Openings that have already come open, we just saw Oregon State fire their coach. Now they're not technically in the power schools anymore, but it's a historically big opening, and they've got so many problems. Oregon State has so many problems right now.
They should be 4-3 right now. It's crazy.
This could really be. You know who I also forgot is going to be looking for a coach? Stanford. They haven't come up in anything, but they need a coach too.
I don't really know what Stanford does here. You have all the money in the world, right? That's not the issue. It's just what coach wants to take on that specific challenge in this day and age and handle the
They
West
have
Coast team in the
resources,
ACC.
though. If they want resources, they have.
do.
Like they just got that $50 million gift, right?
Yeah, but like that doesn't help the admissions part of it. And that's
Well,
something that, I mean,
yeah. In the portal era, it's tough for them.
I mean, they didn't have guys like spring enrollees until last year.
I see Robert working on his mic in the green room. So we haven't even gotten to our top 5 games segment. I'll add Robert in just a second. As soon as he gives me a thumbs up, I can add him. Oh, he's ready. Okay. Oh, and I like this comment from Alex.
Texas.
Petition to get Pete to grow the beard out. Well, I'm planning on it. I'm going to Cal next weekend. Sam's going to be down there, and the beard is going to
Pete is growing his beard out until Virginia Tech wins another football game.
That could be a long time. I'm going to be Grizzly Adams by the time next year rolls around. Okay, let's get to Indiana going into Eugene and outplaying the Ducks. What's up, Robert? Welcome.
What's going on? Admittedly, I was not adjusting my microphone. I was taking a bite of the delicious ground beef and rice and edamame that my wife made. So Mike is great.
Listen,
and so's the dinner.
If you need to eat on a pod, Pat has set a precedent for that. I've seen him eat a Jersey Mike sub on a podcast before, so don't be shy. But I was surprised by the Hoosiers going into Eugene and outplaying the Ducks. 30-20 was the final score. And I'm mad at myself, Sam, because on the pod last week, I picked Indiana. And then when I gave out the picks, I'm like, changing my mind. I'm going with the Ducks. That's what you called it, a system play. And it's not like, I do believe that was correct. I mean,
yeah, it was a totally easy game for the first half. Luckily I took Indiana money line at halftime because they were winning by 3 and it was a completely even game. That ended up saving me a unit, right? But I mean, dude, I thought Indiana was like, at some point, they have to come down to earth, especially defensive. Like at some point, they have to have a bad game to like fix the averages. Dude, we really need to talk about this team maybe playing for a national title this year.
I mean, they have launched themselves. And I'll just say a little bit about the game first. It was 13-13 before Indiana put together a long drive to take 20-13 lead. And then they got the pick 6, Oregon did. That ties the game. But Oregon could not get a stop late. And Indiana's defense was pretty relentless. They had 6 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. And outside of the interception, Rob, I thought Mendoza was pretty sensational. Like he was very efficient.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was phenomenal. And I was joking in a group chat that I'm in with Sam about he's either going to get a GM of a bad team fired or the GM of a good team extended. Because he is like your top level game manager type of quarterback where it's like you might not want the entire responsibility of the offense on his shoulders per se, but like if you need him to go out there and just make smart decisions and a few big throws, like he can do it
in a hostile environment.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And like, maybe he's used to that kind of West Coast football already, playing at Cal. I don't know what it is, but I think like if I had to look at Indiana and what really makes them different this year than last year, and honestly, like I think I'm kicking not just myself, but just like all of college football media, the entire zeitgeist, for not realizing that like this roster is better than last year's roster. And and the difference is if you look at, obviously massive portal class last year, massive portal class this year. Last year, the portal class was like a bunch of JMU guys and an Ohio quarterback. And like those guys were overachieving, but ultimately their ceiling was capped. You look at Indiana's roster right now, Mendoza, Power 4 transfer, Roman Hemby from Maryland. You've got Notre Dame. There's a Notre Dame offensive lineman out there. You look at their defense, like they have tons and tons of Power 4 talent that Signetti's kind of compiled. And so now it's like they have the athletes to compete to go along with that great coaching that they have. So, I mean, I don't think they're going to win the national championship, but like they're going to be tough to stop.
They are going to be tough to stop. It'll be interesting to see how their depth holds up as opposed to some of these other teams. But you can't keep doubting Cignetti because he just keeps doing the damn thing. It's one of the best coaching jobs, if not the best 18-month coaching jobs that we've ever seen in the history of college football. It's unbelievable to take Indiana to these heights, to go win a top 5 game in Eugene. It was the first time Indiana won one of these games, a top 5 game, in 46 tries. Just the absolutely ridiculous.
Best win in Indiana history, I think you could say.
It's got to be.
I think it is. Like I think what you're looking at here with Indiana is totally historic. And Oregon didn't play a good game. Like Dante Moore was a little bit off.
What was going on with the offense, man? They only had 267 yards of offense.
Their offensive line had troubles in this game, and I think it was just kind of a dud game for them. But you have to give you can't give any excuse to it though. Like you can't put any caveat on it. Like they went into Autzen Stadium and got a 10-point win against Oregon. And Oregon had some of the biggest plays in the game. They had the big touchdown pass. They had the pick 6. They were kind of rolling. I do think though, there was a 6-point swing at the end of the first half that I think really set the tone for the rest of the game. Oregon has a very good field goal kicker, and he missed from real close. Like everybody was shocked. Indiana finds a way to get 2 or 3 big plays down the field and hit a 50-something yard field goal to end the half. That was a 6-point swing that I think if that goes the other way and Oregon goes up 13-10 and has the ability to kind of sit on the game a little bit and make Indiana a little more one-dimensional, run the clock. Like if they're in control, the score might be flipped. It might be 30-20 Oregon. But that was such a big moment. And that's what good teams do. Like they find a way to take advantage of every little mistake the opponent makes. And Indiana did that flawlessly.
That's a great point, Sam. That's a really good point. On the Oregon thing, are we a little concerned that their biggest win is Penn State and that they got beat at home in a game where they needed a pick 6 to even keep it within 10?
No, because that was a very different Penn State team a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And I would also say they very well might. They play at Rutgers next week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They might drop 50 burger on Rutgers defense.
I mean, it's a West Coast team going east after a loss.
What did they do less? I know what the other ones struggle.
I'm not saying they won't cover versus Rutgers. Rutgers has not been very good, but we've talked about this Big Ten thing with the teams going to the coasts, and it's generally not a good recipe.
So last year they beat Purdue. Purdue sucked, but they beat Purdue 35-0. They beat Michigan 38-17. They beat Wisconsin 16-13. Wisconsin,
dude, I think that was a different Oregon team.
They didn't go.
By factually it was, but I don't think Oregon's as good.
They didn't go East Coast a lot actually last year. They never went totally East Coast last year. Yeah, it is different. I think their defense is better than last year, though.
They held Indiana down for what Indiana normally does to people. It was a good defensive, on both sides of the ball, good defensive performance. Absolutely. We need to move on to Sleepy Red River, 23-6. Texas wins. Mateer played, but he did not play well. This figured to be a defensive battle before the game, and it was just that, especially in the first half. It was 6-3 OU at the break. The second half belonged to Texas. However, they actually scored the last 23 points of the game. Couple of plotting drives in the third, and then the big punt return in the fourth that sealed it. OU just couldn't do anything offensively. Do you think Mateer should have played, Rob?
I mean, hindsight's 20/20, but no, he definitely should not have played. I mean, shocker that a guy playing with a broken throwing hand did not throw the ball well,
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, I believe, what's the backup's name? Is it Michael Hawkins? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a guy who got a lot of PT for them last year. And he's experienced enough to be competitive. And I think that knowing how limited Mateer seemed, I don't know if that was the best chance for them to win was with him out there. So,
yeah. It's true. There was a little bit of that with Cam Rising, will he or won't he, last year for Utah. And I feel like it hurts the psychology of the team just a little bit to I'm not starting, I am starting. But if nothing else, the Texas defense was stifling. They had 5 sacks, 7 TFL. OU had 12 tackles for loss themselves, but they couldn't sack Arch. And like Arch he avoided sacks and he was efficient, right, Sam?
21 to 27 for Arch. Not big yardage, but got the job done in a really messy game. He ran the ball well too on designed runs. What about Wisner, dude? Quintravion Wisner is an absolute dog. This guy is such a. It feels like Texas has been playing with half a playbook this year almost. Like we haven't seen the inventiveness. We haven't seen the open offense. They have clear offensive line issues, but if they can kind of scheme their way around this, their defense is good enough to win a national. Like much worse teams have won a national championship than this Texas team. And if they can just scheme their way offensively to like 28, 30 points a game, I don't know of many offenses that are going to score on these guys.
I think it's the best defense in the country.
What? Better than Ohio State?
I mean, well, sure, I guess it's one of those two. But I think in terms of pure NFL talent, like Colin Simmons and Hill, like those guys are freaks, you know?
I mean, it's a really good defense. I
mean, are we ready for the 17-14 national title between Ohio State and Texas?
Yeah, we just watched that in week 1. It wasn't a thriller, but a massive win for Arch and for Sark. Big bounce back after what happened in the Swamp, and they are back in the playoff conversation, as Sam was hinting at. Like maybe not for long, but for now, they're back in the conversation. And OU on the flip side, they may be cooked unless Mateer makes a miraculous recovery. And they may be cooked anyway. Look at the schedule. At South Carolina, Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Bama, Mizzou, LSU. That's brutal. That is brutal. That's like all ranked teams except for South Carolina. And Columbia is not going to be easy. That's not going to be easy at all.
Oh, that has loss written all over it.
Didn't South Carolina get them last year in Norman?
I think so.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think it's going to be
I think they beat them down.
They need. This is a nerdy comparison. This Oklahoma team looks really good at points. They do kind of feel like a cheetah or a mountain lion at points. They need every little bone and joint and muscle in their body to be working perfectly in order to work. Yeah. I do feel like if they have one offensive line injury, it's like, oh, shoot, we can't run the ball at all now because they don't have a ton of running back talent on this team. And it's like defensively, they look stout. They look so good. But if the offense isn't moving well, there's a little bit of issue. It's like if they're not getting to the quarterback and they can't get him down, their back end isn't as good as their front seven. It's like they need to be playing very complementary football in order to play at their highest level. And against that schedule, like teams are going to expose them. Yeah. And that's some tough football. And they are a couple injuries away from this season kind of going nosediving. However, again, a defense that's good enough to probably carry them towards a national championship game.
You're going to have to wait and see if Oklahoma is still in Sam's playoffs because they were in there last week, if I recall. So we just got this comment, and is the Mark Stoops chatter real? And that is referring to Virginia Tech. We'll address that and more in VT Corner in about 10 minutes. So stick with us. We're going to get to VT Corner, I promise. Bama took care of business yet again, winning at Mizzou 27-24. This was just a good football game. Both teams made plays. It was tight throughout, but Bama had a 10-point lead with about 2 minutes left. Mizzou cut it to 3, but it was too late. I come away just thinking both of these teams are very high quality, but Bama is still clearly better. Despite winning by 3, they had that 10-point lead. They're on the road. They just played Georgia and Vandy, and they're able to go into Mizzou, and they didn't dominate them, but they won the game, and they flexed their muscles a bit.
Yeah, I feel like Alabama just kind of dictated the pace of the game. And I mean, if you're going to play Missouri, ultimately, like the scouting report is do whatever you can to bottle up number 29. And, you know, Ahmad Hardy is the nation's leading rusher coming into the game. And they did exactly that.
Yep.
And they put the game in Bo Pribula's hands. And he did not succeed. To say
he
the
ran
least.
well.
He did run well. And I mean, it was the biggest game that he's ever played in by a long shot. And like, it's kind of how I feel about Oklahoma too, where like that like Arbuckle Mateer duo, Arbuckle being a 30-year-old offensive coordinator, like I think they were kind of shell-shocked. And I think Prbula in the same way was shell-shocked. Granted, I also think that Drinkwitz and that offensive staff, I don't know who calls plays for them, if it's their OC or if it's him, but I think they didn't run the ball quite enough. I think they abandoned the run a little too much and kind of played into Alabama's hands. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to who's making better passes, you trust Ty Simpson more.
Yeah, he continues to look great. Again, a tough environment for him to go into in a first year as a starter, but he's now proven it on multiple occasions. And as Sam said at the top of the show, the Florida State game is looking like a distant memory and like a fluke.
Yeah, and these two teams, I can't wait. Look like just like you, like really good teams that feel like they're 90% of the way there. Alabama, again, another time where their first half I think was better than their second half, and they just weren't able to step on the jugular in this game. They had a couple of drives where if they scored, the game was over in the fourth quarter, and they couldn't really score. And then on the flip side, for Mizzou, Prbula did not look good when he had to throw the ball. And he had a couple instances where he pushed the ball downfield into like a sea of white and crimson jerseys, and he had guys wide open. That last interception, he had a wide receiver wide ass open, like 12 yards down the field on the sidelines. And instead he threw it into double, potentially triple coverage for that interception. And it does feel like he's a guy who maybe needs one more year in the system. But Mizzou's defense and their offensive line are like win now. And so I wonder is he going to get better as the season goes on? Or they're going to have to rely on the run game? It also could be the fact that Alabama has gotten significantly better since the first few weeks.
Yeah, man. Like their defense, their secondary, like it's starting to click for them. So let's move on to USC flexing on Michigan. It's talking about flexes. 31-13. Trojans just consistently moved the ball in this one. 21-7 in the early third quarter, and it seemed over. Michigan fought, but they couldn't get any stops. 489 yards of offense for USC. They ran for 224 with a guy named King Miller, a freshman walk-on. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. This is the stuff you love about college football, right? I mean, their running backs are all banged up. I think their top 3 or 4 guys are all banged up. They get King Miller, which is an incredible name, to go for 158. Like, just awesome. And Maeva, his typical self in this one.
He's insane. This offense is insane. And metrically, they're the best team offensively in the country. And their defense has shown out 2 weeks in a row. Like, they had a bad start to the game against Illinois, but they look pretty darn good in this one. And Underwood was coming in with some hype and he was playing well, and they completely shut him down. As for the running backs, they just have talent all over the place. They have offensive line injuries and it doesn't matter. They've had Jacoby Lane has been hurt for most of the year and it doesn't matter. Like this team is, if they can get like 5 stops in a game, they're freakish on offense.
Yeah, and what they were doing to a Michigan defense, Rob, I think is what stood out to me, is that this was almost 500 yards on Michigan.
Yeah, and not to harp on the running back point, but like I just want to put into perspective how insane their running game was. It's like they had 2 different running backs get hurt in the game. So they were down to, you mentioned Miller was a walk-on. They had another guy who was a walk-on. And then a story came out today that USC got fined $5,000 by the Big Ten because they played, they were down to the 2 walk-ons. Then the third running back they had in there was a guy that was listed as out on the injury report.
Yep.
They made that dude just put the pads on and go out there with an injury because they were that depleted.
I don't want to
hear
that happen in the middle of the game. Like when did he put
I don't want to hear
on?
one word about Southern California not being gritty.
Yeah, man.
We got dudes who are out for the year still suiting up.
That is like when someone needs a guy in the NFL playoffs and they like call an accountant. Like the Eagles did that to Chad Lewis back in the day. He was like doing, some kind of financial something, and they're like, "Yo, we need you for the divisional round because we are just wiped out right now." And he came.
Oh, the Rams did that.
Yeah, it happens every now and again.
Who's the safety they did that with? Was it Weddle? I don't remember, but
Well,
yeah.
I'll tell you too,
it's funny.
$5,000. That's like,
I mean,
one tab at Nobu. I mean, that's nothing down there.
That's a sushi roll. Yeah,
I know.
USC now moves ahead of Big Blue in the Big Ten pecking order. Big win for Lincoln Riley. Notre Dame up next. That's going to be so good. It's going to be so good.
So good.
All right. Georgia and the referees beat Auburn 20-10. Auburn was up 10-0. They were rolling. They were at the goal line with about 90 seconds left in the first half. Dude, man, reaches it out, gets bobbled. They call it a fumble. I personally thought he broke the plane. It's Georgia ball. They go down, they kick a field goal. And the entire game after that was different, Sam.
It does kind of feel like Auburn is paying for their sins a little bit here with the years and years of Jordan Hare magic that they had.
That is true. That is true.
And I also look at this as,
and they were robbed.
They were robbed, and like they've been on the wrong side of officiating calls over and over again. They also are a terrible offensive football team, and the refs don't have much to do with that. Like Jackson Arnold is not good. This is the second straight swing and miss that Hugh Freeze has had a portal quarterback, and they got the wide receivers. They went out and paid for guys on the offensive line. They have the defense, and they don't have a quarterback. And I know that one call was a massive swing in this game, but you got outscored 20-0 after that.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that was at the end of the first half. And like, yes, I get it. If it's 17-0, it's a different game. But at the end of the day, like, you still had the lead. Go win the game. You know,
they had less than 4 yards per play.
Right.
They never scored in the second half. I mean, they didn't score the entire second half. It's hard to blame that on the refs.
And you know what Jackson Arnold should have done? Held on to the football. It's like QB 101. You don't jump over a pile as a quarterback.
I think he got in, but it's not like it was so clear to everyone that was watching. I mean, I'm sure Georgia fans say there was no way he got in. So it looked like he got in, but come on. It was hold on to the ball, and that's not an issue. The timeout clapping thing was
absurd.
That is college football at its finest, right there, man.
He has to be fined for that.
He has to be.
You have to fine him for that.
I mean, he
more than $5,000.
He gaslit that ref worse than like your ex-girlfriend.
Oh,
like,
I
know.
That was bad. And doing like the motion too, like it's so.
Do you think?
Oh my God.
Do you think the officiating in that game was that's not the worst I've ever seen?
It was the story of the game.
Yeah. And I think too, it's like Jordan Hare is a crazy college football environment, especially when like Georgia or Bama come to town. I feel like every single official kind of got the yips. And it just came crashing down on them, and they weren't really going through their process, it looked like, during that game. I almost think they should have like, hey, whoever, because there are usually one or two like substitution referees in case of injury or something like that. I almost think at halftime they should have been like, bring them in, get them in here, because these guys are rattled.
Go ahead, Rob.
I was gonna say, I mean, even if you look at that, that much maligned fumble play, also, if it wasn't a touchdown for Auburn, it should have been a touchdown for Georgia, because the guy picked it up and ran it all the way back.
He was sitting on the ground though when he grabbed it at first, or sitting on. He was sitting on someone else.
He was on a person's body.
Okay,
he was not on the ground, but they had already blown it dead.
Yeah.
So then, like, in a way, both teams got screwed out of points. It was wild.
Auburn had one explosive play in this game. One. And this is not a vintage Georgia defense.
I mean, Jackson Arnold cannot pass. He passed for 4.4 yards per attempt. That's Kyron Drones numbers.
That's what I said in the chat. Like, I don't think he's that different of a quarterback than Kyron Drones right now.
I do worry talking about the interception streak, and I'm like, okay, that's fine if you haven't thrown an interception. You also don't throw the ball more than 3 yards at a time.
He had no pass TDs in this game.
Right.
So the rest of their schedule is they play Mizzou. They have a bye week, and then they play. Actually, no, they don't have a bye week. They play Mizzou, and then they play at Arkansas, and then they have Kentucky at Vanderbilt, Mercer, Bama. They are 3-3. They've lost their last 3. Do they make a bowl game?
It's such a good roster. I just feel like maybe outside of the quarterback, that defense is ferocious, man. Like they really are. And they've gotten screwed twice now against Oklahoma and against Georgia. They should be a bowl team. I don't know if they'll get there, Sam.
They have to. I mean, they can't stumble against Arkansas or Kentucky.
No.
And
they very well could. Arkansas is dangerous. We saw that against Tennessee.
Yeah.
I will say about the calls, the prevalence of gambling, I do worry about this for the future of the sport. I really do, because
me?
Not you, not like just that, like every conference, every network is in bed with gambling companies. And then we see all these suspicious calls across college football every weekend. And as a fan of the sport, I really want to believe that it's not being manipulated, but like, we're getting to a point where like, it's at some point, it's not going to be a conspiracy theory anymore, because all of these kids can have the app on their phones, and all of these referees can have the app on their phones, and it's legal. And it's just something I'm thinking about as we have all these existential crises in this sport. I worry about that as well.
It's one of the least enforceable policies that the NCAA has. Truly.
It is.
You cannot dictate what's on every single student athlete and every single coach and every single ref.
I mean, John Mateer said he was gambling on Venmo, and they're like, "Nah, it was a joke. it was a joke. Let him play."
Infinite plausible deniability,
because you can't. You're right. You can't enforce it. Like if you get records of their actual gambling apps, then yeah, probably.
Right, but if you Venmo your friend and you don't make it public and don't put the game that you're
sounds like Shohei Ohtani to me.
Yeah.
Well, except Shohei Ohtani was, breaking the law, and in this case, John Mateer wasn't breaking the law.
Right.
He was breaking a handshake agreement on a piece of paper that isn't worth the toilet paper in the bathroom of Congress.
Right.
So
it's a concern for the sport.
That's a big can of worms. Maybe after the NIL, that will be the next can of worms.
Yeah.
It's more like one of those styrofoam things and night crawlers that they'll just dump on you. Like that's
Ew.
That's going to be a nasty one.
Night crawlers makes me think of Charlie Day. Let's play night crawlers. All right. College Football Monday is brought to you by Jack and Coke. 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke only took us about 57 minutes to get to this ad read, but we are here. The #1 cocktail in the world is now available in a can. It's true. Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey and Coca-Cola, or Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, along with Vanilla Coke and Cherry Coke, are now available in a can mixed with Jack Daniels. You don't need to bring 2 things to the tailgate. The cans are ready. You can see the can on your screen, and they're great. They are phenomenal. Anyone that's tried them say they are delicious, and you can get the variety pack with vanilla, cherry, and original all in one box. That is legit. They also have the blackberry flavored Jack Daniels, which is pretty sick, according to our friend Billy Ray. So make sure you are grabbing those Jack and Cokes at your local grocery and convenience store. And when you are drinking them, please drink responsibly. Let's just put this up on the screen real quick. Off topic, serious question. I can't believe I'm asking, why does salty Pat Narduzzi never come up in these coaching search conversations? I'll let you guys answer that one while I grab an image here for our next segment.
Narduzzi is delightfully mediocre. And like, he's just like in that purgatory, I feel like, where it's almost like Brad Brownell at Clemson in basketball, where you're too good to get fired, but you're not good enough to get a job somewhere else. Because it's like whenever you think Pat is about to take that next step, they choke. And then right when you think the bottom's going to fall out, he pulls the game out of his ass like he did this week. Like the whole Pitt 7-5, 6-6 every year thing, like that's real. And
he can't be relied on. That's
I don't want him in Blacksburg. Yeah. No. I mean, no, he can be relied on. It's just you're relying on him to be average. That's it. You know what I mean?
That's true.
He's the college football equivalent of like a truck stop Subway. Like nobody's like, oh, what do you want for dinner? Subway. You know, like nobody wants that. Like you might you might have to have it at some point. Like if you're on 81 and you're real hungry, that might be the only thing within 40 miles. But nobody out here is seeking a coach like Pat Narduzzi. And I think his record over the last 5-6 years probably shows you why.
It took
Kenny Pickett and Jordan Addison for him to go like 7-7.
He's the anti-James Franklin is what he is.
Yeah. Kenny Pickett was also like 24 playing against 19-year-olds, you know, like
the biggest win of his career is on a neutral field against Wake Forest.
Well, guess what? He has as many conference championships as James Franklin. So there's that. Let's go to VT Corner, everyone's favorite segment of College Football Monday.
I need to like cover this up.
Virginia Tech lost to Georgia Tech 35-20, Sam. We did not cover as I hoped we would, thanks to Monty going for 2. But
that's the right call.
But it did go under thanks to that call. It went under the 55.5.
Virginia Tech positive net success rate on the road at Georgia Tech. Congratulations, everybody.
We did that.
Great job. Yeah. 0.2 EPA per play, 81st percentile of the last 2 years, 57% success rate, 6.8 yards per play. Oh, man. What a game for the Hokies offense.
What is it? Second best yards per play on the season? Yes. No, I'm sorry. Best yards per play on the season, 6.7. Better than Wofford. We had a better yards per play than we did against Wofford in this game.
Tied them 20-20 after the first quarter. Disregard the first quarter. Not a bad game.
Can we go back to the game in 1 second? I want to get this out there first. The Whit Babcock interview. This is VT Corner. We cover all aspects, not just the game. There was supposed to be a media session with Whit Babcock last week, and then it was this week. We thought it was today or tomorrow. But via Andy Bitter, Babcock and the search committee signed NDAs and will no longer comment on the search process. What is your reaction to that, Sam? Does this, like, why did they do this? Should this have always been in place?
My gut reaction is, grand scheme, this is probably good because every time he speaks in front of a microphone, something bad happens. So
people don't react to it well.
The less Whit Babcock, the better. That's one. The second side is, I think this is such an internal cluster right now, and they don't have things set up like they would want to have them set up. And that secrecy is probably the best way to try to clean that up, because the last thing they need is somebody misspeaking on a podcast or show, or somebody leaking information that loses a competitive advantage on a candidate. Like, they can't afford stuff like that.
I wonder who was like, okay, we're doing NDAs, because we know Whit's not in charge. And like, was it
Rokovich?
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, it had to be. But
I believe Coach Fur, so most athletic departments, if they're going out for a head coach in basketball or football, they will hire like a firm that does a lot of the background checks and gathering information and contacting agents and all that stuff. Those firms sign NDAs, the people who are working for those firms. So that's not abnormal in this case.
It's not abnormal, but I would just think there's a code of silence on these things unless you actually know the facts anyway. And if they were going to do the NDA, clearly they felt it necessary at this point because of what's gone down. Teal laid into them on Tech sideline. A bunch of other people have, put editorializing commentary on it. And it's warranted because the messaging did kind of flip flop, and we don't really know who's in charge. But giving your AD an NDA, Robert, that has to mean he's gone. Like, you are stripping him of everything.
I'm actually not able to comment on this matter due to a non-disclosure agreement that I signed. I
was about to say, is he being sick? Because Robert is an actual writer. Like he might actually have an NDA on something, but
yeah. They held me at gunpoint, told me to sign. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hate to speculate, but it just seems like, I believe, was it Max and Cheese? Was that who asked the question that you
Yes.
put on screen? Yeah. Who's in charge? The answer is nobody or everybody or God. I don't know, but it's no one we can pin down. So it's I think the fact that they called this press conference and then canceled it because they decided to sign NDAs, like that's an issue. Like if this was NDAs from the beginning, like we don't need to know. I know people want to know the steps in the process. We don't need to know who's in charge. Like I don't care. Like just get me a good coach at the end of the day. Just show me the result.
yeah.
But now you're kind of teasing me with all this extra information that I didn't want, and then you're taking it away from me. Well, now I'm just confused, and it makes you look foolish. And I don't. Now it doesn't inspire confidence.
That is the sentiment that our friend Mike McDaniel had to say. He said, once they started like putting info out there, and now they're turtling up, it becomes odd. Virginia Tech could have said nothing if they wanted to, but they wanted to publicly juice the job before the search. Now they're upset. People want more information. So it's I mean, it's just more of the same of what we expect from Virginia Tech and the athletic department. I guess now nothing is better than what they would put out there. So I would have just wished this is how it was from the beginning. Like I think most people would agree with that at this point.
Do we think that the chaos around the coaching carousel led to this maybe? Saying, hey, this is going to be a crazy one. Let's keep it in-house.
I think that had something to do with it. I think it had more to do with Arians and then the Bill Roth interview.
Yeah, I think it maybe has a lot to do with Bruce Arians having the platform that he does.
Yeah, because he goes on McAfee once a week, and he's on there for he goes on there once a week. That's his thing, and he's on there for 2 hours, and he's chopping it up with the fellas. I mean, he's just a football guy. He just likes to shoot the bull. You know what I mean? And it's very hard to ask him not to leak something.
And Eddie Royal is on national television every week.
That's right.
So you have a lot going on here.
Not to mention, Bud Foster is out there with donors a lot. With Babcock, probably still has relationships with donors.
We were hanging out with Bud Foster in Atlanta. He could have said anything, not that the search committee had started then, but you get my point. He is always with people.
Right. Yeah. It's just hard to, unless you set clear expectations and clear guardrails, it's hard to, hope for anything else.
So let's move on from that and just quickly touch on the Stoops is being discussed thing. And Important Views says, if Stoops is being discussed as a candidate, this search is a disaster already.
Amen.
Mark Stoops is less. It's more likely that James Franklin's the next head coach of Virginia Tech than Mark Stoops.
And that's very unlikely.
Yeah. Usually what happens in these scenarios, I would be shocked if it was Mark Poops. I have no info on that. I don't know. I just think that maybe my life will be better than that being the outcome.
You have faith in some higher power that won't happen to you. What has led you to that conclusion, Rob? Because it's not going well.
Sorry, I've referenced God twice in the last 5 minutes.
Robert's going to break out into "I Dreamed a Dream" from Les Mis here in a couple minutes.
But usually that happens because that coach is about to lose his job. His agent is reaching out. He's posturing for his next job. He's trying to figure it out. Tech can politely say thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
And move on.
It's agent work.
Yeah. Stoops is I don't think this is going to last where I'm at right now. Go do some legwork, please, so I can land on my feet.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the game. We were shorthanded because even though we got Woodson back, Keller didn't play. We didn't have Montavious Cunningham. Stewart did play, but he wasn't 100%. And the game started off just about as bad as possible. It was 8-0 Georgia Tech quick because they had no respect for us and went for 2 right off the bat. Then it was 15-0, then 18-0 through the first 20 minutes. We scored a touchdown before the half, which was pretty great. But of course, they drove down for a field goal to make it 21-7 at the break. We showed some fight in the third, cut it to 21-14 on the first TD pass to Jarikus Hairston. It was a really nice drive. And GT answered quickly right back. And it seemed, at that point, it seemed like it was going to be an uphill battle. We both added touchdowns later in the game, and it ended 35-20. We already commented on the offense. They were better on a per play basis than Wofford, Sam, but we just didn't run that many plays.
No, and I think you also had, again, I'll point to it, just not enough explosive plays for this offense, and too many times the defense allowed a big play for Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not. It never really felt like Virginia Tech was going to win this game. Pretty much from kickoff, and like it really was about. And I don't say this facetiously. Like it really did feel like it was a game to like. Let's hope we cover the spread. That's kind of it felt like what we.
Well, I was hoping that because I talked about it on last week's show.
I mean, you did so many things well, but because you weren't ready to play for 15 minutes, you really didn't have a shot in this game. And I do think it was a bit of Georgia Tech went, let's throw out the crazy plays in the first quarter, and then let's dial it back and be really simple for the rest of the game. Something else I'll point out, and this is over the last 2 games. If you take out the first quarter against Georgia Tech and the second quarter against Wake Forest, Virginia Tech's outscoring those teams 36-29. However, in those 2 games, Virginia Tech has 16 penalties for 156 yards and are a combined 7 of 25 on third down.
Yeah, well, in this game, we were 0 of 8 on third down. Mm-hmm. GT was in our backfield on just about every down. They had 4 sacks, 6 TFL, 2 hurries. And that number on the hurries, that's kind because Drones had to take off a ton. He had 16 carries, some of which, were out of desperation. And he had the nice TD run. But on the season now, and this game was probably the worst example of him being pressured. Maybe. I don't know. On the season, he has 218 pass attempts. According to PFF, he has 107 pressures on dropbacks. I got that number from Doug Bowman. That means on half of his dropbacks, he is getting pressure. No quarterback can succeed like that. And I know we have our issues with Kyron Drones. He has accuracy problems. He hasn't been good even when he has had protection at times, but no quarterback is going to be good getting pressured on 50% of their dropbacks.
No. And another thing from Doug Bowman, while we mentioned him, who does a great job compiling some of these stats, for success rate for Virginia Tech on rushing plays, 48%. That's number 33 in the country, Pete. Pass plays, 35%. That's number 125.
Yeah, I mean, we are beating our heads against the wall with this, dude. I mean, 15 carries for running backs. Those running backs average 7 yards a carry. And we can't protect Drones. He's not a great passer when he is protected. And we run the ball well. And they're still not running the ball enough. I just continue to fail to understand. Hawkins and Stewart, 4th in the country in forced missed tackles as a duo. Thank you, Doug. One last time. 4th in the country. I don't have a clue why we're passing as much as we are, but obligatory, and let's say it together. Run the damn ball.
Run the damn
Hawkins
ball.
had over 9 yards per carry. Hawkins had a 28-yard run. Stewart had a 15-yard run. Drones had the 32-yard run. Just why are you throwing it at all? Because your wide receivers can't get open and your offensive line can't pass pro.
Did you also notice that 2 of our both touchdown passes to Hairston, the passing TDs, were on 4th down? So this game was very close to not being close at all.
Dude, I tweeted it out too. Monty has a bag here. He's got some plays drawn up that are pretty inventive and pretty great. That 4th down play, I don't know if they checked to it or just went for it, but they did run 4 verts versus that coverage, and it worked perfect. That was a That was the perfect call against that coverage. And then the 4th down play on the goal line was beautiful. I mean, that's an unstoppable play. And it's like, dude, I do feel kind of bad for him because this is not the personnel that he signed up to.
I mean, you got to feel bad for him. Yeah.
And it's like, damn, dude, like he's not a bad coach.
I don't know. I mean, get your air raid shit out of here, though. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. And
like, we knew coming into the seat when he took the job, he knew Kyron Jones was going to be his quarterback, and he knew that was a run first quarterback. Like,
that's what's so frustrating.
Like, I don't know.
Because he had this problem with Peyton Thorne, and he ran that offense 60% of the time. We're not even close to that. And that's what bugs me. Is like he has not been super pass happy at the end of his Tulsa regime or at Auburn. And yet here, when we have no offensive line and a quarterback just as bad at throwing as Peyton Thorne, he's passing more. And so
he's going back to Baylor. Like, he's going back to his Baylor days.
Yep.
But that was 10 years ago. And
we don't have RG3
or Bryce Petty. Yeah. Like,
I also think he has taken over as a head coach. We haven't had a bye week yet, which is something, Sam, we maybe didn't harp on that enough.
I agreed.
Like, only 14 teams in the country have played 7 games. We played them in 7 weeks. Some of those 14 teams had a week 0 game. So, like, we are on the very rare side of having played 7 games in 7 weeks. And, like, the guys had nothing left. On defense, we're a mash unit. And it showed. We gave up 481 yards, 7.3 yards per play. I mean, we got George Balance leading us in tackles. Joseph Reddish, not Quentin Reddish, had 6 tackles, and Noah Chambers, a true freshman, had 5 tackles. I like Balance. He has been a great Hokie. I think he could give us some depth reps. Chambers is an incredible freshman, but the fact that we have to rely on these guys as much as we do tells the story. I mean, Reddish was in D2 last year. Like, this, he's our second leading tackler in this game. Like, it is.
I
appreciate all of them for playing as hard as they do. I really do.
I'll tell you what, effort's not the issue.
No.
Effort's not the issue. And I don't even know if X's and O's are the issue. I think we can be upset about the run pass split, but I don't think X's and O's on either side of the ball are the issue either. I tweeted out right before the game when we got the final availability reports that I think this is the worst Team Tech has fielded. This is worse than 2022, I thought. I thought there were areas where it was so clear. It looked like one of the COVID rosters. We were so.
This is hard. That's hard because the roster at the beginning of the season, I think, was far better than 2022. I
agree. No, I totally agree. And that's kind of my point is like the dudes we were excited about aren't playing anymore. And
yeah,
I remember I was watching with my family and I paused and like Georgia Tech had a 3rd down in the red zone. 3rd down in the red zone. Got to hold them to a field goal. I paused before the play and I went through because it was a frame where you could see all 11 players on defense. And I went through and I was like, backup, 3rd string, walk on, 3rd string, backup, starter, back. Like none of them, none of our best players are actually on the field. And that's why I can't judge like what Sam Seifkis is able to do. This is one of the worst defenses in power football because we have 3rd string defensive linemen out there.
Yeah.
We have none of our best linebackers are out there. None of our best DBs are out there anymore. Like, I don't know what they're really supposed to do in this game. Haynes King was 20 of 24. Georgia Tech could have just kept scoring in this game.
It wouldn't have mattered. We could have put up 2 more touchdowns. We would have lost. Like they were going to keep going and keep scoring. And
it's just so frustrating. I give so much credit to the guys out there who are actually playing.
Yes.
But the best ability is sometimes availability. And I know that's a trope, but the talent on this Virginia Tech roster isn't actually playing on the field. And if you don't play on the field, you don't matter.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to tell you that.
And it doesn't help that, like, conceptually, Seifkis especially, but like Monty's offense also is like very complicated, very complex. I mean, Seifkis is bringing in this NFL system, a true multiple style defense with switching up fronts, switching up personnel constantly. Like it is a very, very complex defense to understand. And we have players that just can't understand it. That's They're not good enough. And like it's not their fault. Like it's like you said, Sam, there's opt-outs and injuries and everything else. And so it's like we talk about how Sam Cephas is like an evil genius. Like, yeah, he is, but doesn't matter if the only
it's not a
tools
full
he's
deck.
given. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And he's not playing guys full snap. Like, Gilliam and Copeland aren't getting a full range of starting snaps right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's criticisms that you can have of both him and Monty. Like I saw the comment, like, yeah, like I do believe that Monty like is a good coach. I think he's done really well as an interim head coach. I would like to see Monty get another shot as a head coach somewhere in the G5 or something like that. But at the same time, like, I don't know if they're adjusting to their personnel the way they need
and they
to.
haven't had a bye week to do it. And that's what I'm hoping before Cal. Like, this could be a very pivotal week, right, Sam? I know you had your hand up. What were you going to say?
He would
raise your hand. You can just talk over me if you want.
He would be a really good hire for UAB.
Oh,
yeah, dude, that's
like
really
that's not bad.
call.
He's a good football coach, man. And I'll tell you
a lot
what,
better than Trent Dilfer.
Yeah. So that's
He would
just what I wanted to
provide
get
the
at
stability that they desperately need. Like Montgomery is like the anti-Trent Dilfer.
there. Exactly.
I mean, he's got the name of a city in Alabama, right? I mean,
yeah, it's a pretty good start, right?
He should be down.
I watched this game. It's like you couldn't expect to win this game at any point. We just didn't have the dudes. At one point, I think we had our 5th and 6th string corners in.
I know. I mean, yeah. So what I'm hoping is like
to do.
We need the bye week. We'll get a little bit healthier. Monty can hopefully have a little bit of time that he's not dealing with guys trying to leave the program and whatever else, that he can kind of see what works on offense, see what doesn't. And maybe against Cal will look healthier and a little bit different. And all three of us will be there. So that's going to be fun. What are we going to do? Are we going to record? Are we going to hang out? Like, what's going to happen?
We can bring that offline, but I'll be there. The hotel is booked. The ticket is there. My outfit is picked out, weather pending. I'm ready to go, man.
Is it an effect? Is it an effect
No,
game?
I don't think it's
a Coors Light effect. That's what
it's a
it is.
please
I don't
show
like
up
being-
effect.
I don't like being told what to do by anyone but my wife. So,
but yeah, I'm excited about getting down there. Coach is going to be down.
Back-to-back bangers, fellas.
I told you
Coors
guys.
Light effect is really good.
Coors Light effect, yeah. Little soaking wet jeans because you just drank too much. It's just going everywhere.
A Jack
Steve
Daniels
Austin in the
Coca-Cola
parking lot.
I thought you were.
Oh, sorry, Rob. No, I wasn't
defecating.
Wasn't soiling myself other than with beer pouring down, doing a stone cold.
I don't want to drop a bomb here, but you got the bye week at home. Quarterback hadn't been playing too well. Do you make the pop move?
Pop.
If you're going to make the pop move, it's this week, right?
Yeah.
Let me confess something.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, yes, I think you are right in that, but we haven't shown an ability to start anybody else or a desire to start anybody else.
That's the thing.
From a fan's perspective, I was very adamant in talking to you guys offline that like I was not planning on watching that game live. There was just so much other good football going on. I maybe watched 5 plays of the Virginia Tech game. And what they were was when I checked the box score on my phone and I saw that Pop Watson had a carry. And I thought, oh my God, they did it. And I turned it on and I see number 1 trotting back out there. And I was like, damn it. And I changed the channel back.
Nope.
To Georgia and Auburn. Yeah. Or whatever.
I believe so. So Kyron had a little, got his ankle retaped a bit. Kyron was, I think, fine, but he had to come out because the trainers came out on the field. And a wonderful sideline report, very informative, said he had to come out and they retaped his ankle. Back to you. And that was it. So that's kind of the coverage we're getting. Can I mention the coverage real quick?
Yeah, let's talk about the coverage briefly, dude.
West Durham, that was fucking pathetic.
Shameful.
Dude. That was shameful. That was so awful. I understand it's a lopsided game. Okay. I'm super well aware that it's a lopsided game. They had everything set up for Georgia Tech. He was stoked when Georgia Tech scored, and he sounded like he was going to cry, like he lost his puppy when Virginia Tech made a play. It was terrible. It was shameful. It was awful. I would like to say he's better than that. And I know you're an Atlanta guy and you're former Georgia Tech radio guy, but come on, man, at least attempt to be neutral.
It was like watching Collinsworth call Patrick Mahomes' game. Like that's what it was like. I mean, it was
well, at least no, because Collinsworth is actually a talented play-by-play guy. Wes Durham was just terrible in that. That was shameful.
It was, and a lot of people made that commentary online. Like Sam is not alone, and I would agree with that take. Although a lot of times when Tech is losing, and my wife hates this, I mute the television. Like I can't hear like the bad things happening. I can watch it, but I just can't hear it. And so maybe I didn't hear as much as you did. All right, let's close this out. We'll talk a little bit more about this game and some other Tech stuff on Too Deep later this week. But I need to know what you guys are drinking. Rob looks like he's got something clear over there. If you're having a beer, we'll talk about it. Sam, you go first.
Yeah, so I had this on my pumpkin beer episode that we had last week. So this is the Rhodesmary's Spawn from Two Roads Brewing. It is back to the well. I mean, you got a 6-pack of them. You got to try them out. So this is a pumpkin maple pecan ale.
Whoa.
Quite the mouthful. It is much more maple pecan than it is pumpkin. We went over this in our show. It's a pretty good beer. I actually think this is much better than I thought it was last time, because you could probably hear it on the recording. It was a little under the weather, and I was trying a few different beers. With a fresh palate, this is better than I thought it was. It's really it's a really dark beer. I think it's great for like a fireside beer if you want in the fall. Again, if you're not a fan of pumpkin, don't be off put by it being called a pumpkin maple pecan ale. There's really not a lot of pumpkin in it. It's much more maple pecan, but it's a really good beer.
Last week. It was good.
Awesome can.
It was a solid beer. Yeah, the can's sweet. Rob, are you having beer tonight?
I am having Don Julio and Spendrift. But I have been drinking on a Monday night. Honestly, it's more about, cutting the calories.
We're all trying to get through the week, Rob. Come on.
Yeah. I have been drinking the Founders Oktoberfest. I'm a huge Oktoberfest guy.
I love that.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a Marzen, so it's not a fest beer. I'm more of a Marzen fan. Pete, I know you're the same way. You like that darker color, a little more malty flavor. It's pretty solid. Like I'd put it in like a 3.8. So I've been really enjoying that.
And they sell it in the 15 or 18 packs. Like you can get it in like a bigger pack too, which and I'll keep that in the fridge for a while. Like the Founders one is one of the most drinkable I find of the the large US distributed Oktoberfest. I'm having the Hallway by Double Nickel. Double Nickel does these great patterned cans, and they're awesome.
That's pretty cool.
And it's got, it's a Halloween theme because it's a brown ale brewed with pumpkin spice and Madagascan vanilla bean. So it's got a little bit of vanilla. It's got the pumpkin. And it's dark like the Spawn. So Sam, I would say it's similar to that, but you definitely get more of the vanilla. Again, not heavy on the pumpkin. Definitely not heavy on the pumpkin. I don't think I'd know it was a pumpkin beer, but I like the Halloween theme with like the Holloway and everything.
I think that's kind of a theme that I have found with the pumpkin beers that I've tried, and maybe the newer releases, is they are a little less pumpkin flavored forward, and they're much more either to the spice side or to a maple side on the other.
It's more autumn flavored. Yes, it's more pumpkin flavored than the one you just had, but heavy on the spices. Like you can really, it's got a spice punch to it. But the Hallway, I love Double Nickel. It's one of my favorite Jersey breweries in Pennsauken, right across the river from Philly. They do an amazing job, and this one, maybe not my favorite, but I do love browns and I love pumpkin. So I'm not going below a 3.75. I do like it.
Nice.
I want you guys to know that College Football Monday is brought to you by Roback and Compass Coffee. And we have the same code at both companies, 2DeepVT. So if you want a new polo from any college that they have, which they have a ton of them, use code 2DeepVT. Or if you want to load up your cart, get some coffee delivered to your house, go to compasscoffee.com or download their app. They make it super easy. Get that coffee delivered, 20% off. They also run really sick Black Friday deals too. So keep that in mind. Use code 2DeepVT. Let's talk about the games outside of Red River in the SEC. A&M, it went chalky, guys. Like I will say, the rest of the SEC went real chalk. It was A&M taking care of Florida, LSU smothering USC, the other USC, South Carolina. Arkansas gave Tennessee all they had, but fell 34-31. And Ole Miss avoids disaster against Washington State. Of those 4 big SEC games, we'll kind of take Ole Miss out of there. They escaped, and it was fine. They really, the stats were better than it looked on the score sheet. But what did you take away from A&M, LSU, and Arkansas, or Tennessee, I should say?
A&M is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee is probably a slightly above average team, and I think their results kind of show that.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss likes to play with its food a little bit, and that's going to bite them in the butt here at the end of the season. And what was the other one that we talked about? LSU. LSU, South Carolina was like, oh, look, these 2 girls are having a mid-off. But I'll tell you what, Mansour Delane is insane.
Mansour Delane is a first-round pick.
Dude, what the heck happened to Mansour Delane? Because he was not that good. That kind of goes to show
he got actual coaching. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's also the power of mentality.
Yeah.
Like when you're playing with confidence and you're playing and you're ready to suit up every single Saturday.
And you're surrounded by ballers.
He's got the talent. He's a very, very good player.
LSU is a good team, but quite flawed. Like they had 3 turnovers in this game. But Sellers, like this was probably Sellers' worst game of the season. I mean, he was really bad in this one. 124 pass yards, no touchdowns, an interception. Scar did move the ball on the ground, but they only mustered 317 yards for the game. I don't think either of these teams are particularly good. Is kind of how I like. This was the opposite of what we saw in Bama Mizzou. Like this game finished, and it's like, nah, neither of those teams are good. Whereas Bama Mizzou, it's like, oh, both of those teams are good.
Does Lenore Sellers come back next year?
Is he I mean,
no, I don't think so.
Because he's only played 2 years of eligibility.
Right.
No,
well,
you mean,
I don't know.
He's played. This is his 3rd year of eligibility.
This is his
one was
3rd.
a red shirt. Yeah.
He has 1 more year after this year.
He's 20 years old.
He could play 2 more
young.
years, Sam.
Uh-huh. But
if he's playing 2 more years, he's not a very good quarterback.
Right.
Okay.
I think ultimately it's like, does the NFL learn their lesson from like Anthony Richardson types of players? History would say no. He's going to go out there. He's going to run a 4.35. And some idiot is going to take him in the top 10. It'll probably be the Saints. And that'll just be that.
Sellers is not an NFL quarterback.
He's not.
I don't think he could develop further. Like we didn't think Jalen Hurts was until he got with Lincoln Riley. And so Sellers.
Jalen Hurts also runs approximately 4 different plays, but sorry, Pete.
Don't besmirch the Super Bowl champ. But yes, I just think like if Sellers is going to be an NFL draft pick, he needs to play a lot better, commit, get a better coach, all of that.
I'm just saying, Anthony Richardson did none of those things, and he went 4th overall. So there you go.
You are correct.
If I gave you, Pete, Robert, as part of the committee, if I gave you $12 million, would you spend 9 of it on Shane Beamer and 3 of it on Lenore Sellers?
No.
But sure? Air Noland, that's my guy.
I'm just saying here, South Carolina has a lot of problems that aren't named Shane Beamer and Lenore Sellers.
That's fine. But would you rather spend $9 million on Matt Rule and $3 million on Dylan Royola?
I don't know if I would.
My thing with Shane, and this is not a Shane conversation, but I guess we're talking about South Carolina, is his teams are so undisciplined, dude.
No, I totally agree.
They're the second most penalized team in the country.
I'm just saying
that's 9.2 penalties per game.
Yeah, no, I totally, you're 100% correct. I'm just saying, if that is an option on the table, that's a real juicy steak.
We're not getting a coach though for one season. Like that's my thing. It's like we're trying to find a coach for a decade. Like he can break, like any guy that's just bringing a quarterback with him. No, I'd rather him bring 5 offensive linemen with him than a quarterback.
Not South Carolina's offensive lineman.
No, I don't want Shane Beamer.
That's kind of what I'm. But that's what I'm saying is like, if Lenore Sellers is not a guy who's going to go to the NFL this year because Fernando Mendoza looks very good, Dante Moore looks very good, etc. That is part of the equation in this day and age. And that's one of the reasons, that was one of the issues to bringing Brent Pry in, is he didn't bring any of his guys with him.
Yeah, he wouldn't do Franklin like that.
You would need a guy to bring some dudes with him because we're about to have to replace 60 to 70 scholarship players. I would much rather have that from South Carolina's roster than UNLV's roster right now.
Here's the thing, Sam. Would you base your coaching decision on who they could bring with them for 1 or 2 years?
In today's day and age, yeah, I kind of would.
Okay. That's a fair
because you need them to hit in year 1 or 2.
Yeah, and if you think about it, like, okay, let's say
but South Carolina's not even good.
All right,
dude, there's UNLV.
Let's think of a better example. Alex Golish, right? Alex Golish comes in. He brings Byron Brown with him. Byron Brown has 1 year of eligibility left. Byron Brown balls out. Tech wins 9-10 games. Now Virginia Tech is better equipped to grab a different quarterback out of the portal or a different high school.
Oh, I like that scenario way better.
I like that scenario better. You know, who else thinks that scenario sounds really
and
good?
you're right. I mean,
Arkansas.
Whoever you hire has the ability to bring players with them. That is a thing in this day and age. So it is something that can be a selling point, but it shouldn't be. Like I said, this is supposed to be a long-term decision, but you make a great point, Sam. Like
it is.
Might only get 3 years.
I don't know if it's a great point. I'm just making a point. Yeah. I have a microphone in front of me, so I'm just going to say
just
stuff.
Dudes on mics. Yeah, that's
just dudes on mics. It is something to think about.
Big 12.
Sorry to derail us.
Short term is to the Big 12. So, sorry, Rob. Texas Tech in this conference, and then everybody else. That's kind of how I view this. They whipped Kansas. I stepped in front of the freight train. I took Kansas.
That was stupid.
I'm not doing that again because Kansas was in it for about 5 minutes in the second quarter, and then Texas Tech laid the hammer down. How about this running back, though? Like, Dickey is unbelievable. 263 yards rushing on 21 carries. That's 12.5 yards a carry. They had 9 yards per carry as a team. Their defensive line is insane. The offensive line blocked up Kansas real good. I mean, this is a dominant team.
I saw somebody tweet Texas Tech football in 2025 is like if a redneck won the lottery. Because if you saw their fireworks show that they had like before the game, it looked like an apocalyptic war. It was hilarious, the amount of fireworks that they shot off in that stadium.
They're literally the Beverly Hillbillies. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they are. They struck oil in the Ozarks and now they live in Beverly. Yes, they are the Beverly Hillbillies.
Texas T. They're doing that.
And I'll tell you what, if we're going to talk more Big 12, after what Utah looked like, and they did that to Utah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, okay. So the Utah thing, like they whipped ASU without Sam Levitt. He didn't play. Dampier had a great game. It did. Like I texted you at one point. I was like, dude, he's so bad at passing the football. And then like he ripped off all these runs and he had 120 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns on 10 carries. So 30% of his runs went for touchdowns, 99.9 QBR. Highest of the weekend, if you can believe it, with 99.9.
It's just
crazy.
They might be really good, and Texas Tech might just be really, really, really good.
Because they beat them in their own house at 10 a.m.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I won't get you started on that. Colorado takes down Iowa State 24-17, back-to-back road losses for Matt Campbell. Not done any favors with his schedule this year, but Colorado, that's a nice win for them. Like that, they have been playing with teams. They played with BYU for almost the entire game, and now they beat a good Iowa State team. So good on Colorado. Let's move to Arizona. You bums. You had a 10-point lead with 4 minutes left, and you got Bachmeyered. Positively Bachmeyered. OT loss, and you didn't cover for me, you sons of bitches.
Dude, I despise the Bachmeyer family. I hate every single one of them.
Dishonor on the whole family.
Dishonor on you.
Bachmeyer.
Dishonor on Cal.
BYU moves to 6-0. I don't even think they're good.
No, they're terrible. Okay, no, they're not terrible. I'm sorry. They're a very average football team, but they're figuring it out.
They're figuring it out. So what happens in the Holy War? Because they got BYU this weekend. They got Utah this weekend against BYU. In Provo, I should say.
Why does he wear number 47? I don't think I'd be as
I do kind of love that. I kind of like that he wears 47.
I think right now Utah
it's so dumb.
Utah is finding their footing. They're playing really well. I think they're going to dominate the line of scrimmage in this game. BYU has barely beaten Arizona, barely beaten Colorado. I don't think those are great teams. Everybody else they've played has been absolutely awful. Utah's battle tested. They're healthy. Give me the Utes.
I would agree with that. I mean, Utah's offensive line is like secretly maybe a top 10 offensive line in the whole country. They just got dismantled by Texas Tech because Texas Tech met their physicality, and I just don't see BYU doing that.
To close it out, K-State beats TCU. TCU, what happened? 41-28. K-State back on track. Cincinnati beats UCF 20-11. They moved to 5-1. Houston also moved to 5-1, beating Oklahoma State. Some people thought this might be a spot for OK State. No, Houston wins easily. Big Ten. Ohio State is just so damn good. They made light work of Illinois. They win at home 34-16. Nebraska came back to beat Maryland. Tough couple of weeks for the Terps. Comeback losses both times.
Maryland 0-2 since their quarterback signed an NIL deal with Pepsi.
That's the inside baseball you need here from college
Saber
football
metrics.
Monday. Iowa blanked Wisconsin 37-0. Rob, like what happened here? Fickle, like I said, Arizona, you bums. Fickle, you bum. Like what? Like he had his back up against a wall.
It's a disaster. It's unfathomable. Fickle was one of the safest hires we thought. Like, he was kind of the guy that you always thought, like, if things went south for Ryan Day, that Ohio State would bring him home. And I don't understand it, but
no.
Iowa's also just, they're consistent, and if you're gonna play with your thumb in your ass, like they're gonna get you. So
UCLA won again, this time at Michigan State, 38-13. Neuheisel cruising. Is Jonathan Smith long for Sparty?
Jonathan Smith should go back to Corvallis and coach.
He absolutely should. That's his alma mater, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also think this is like Michigan State is an improved team over last year. It's just when you are at a talent or you don't have a talent advantage at all, and you have to do all the little things right. When you don't do one or two of the little things right early, like we see this with Virginia Tech all the time, the game can kind of snowball pretty quickly. And that's what you've seen for Michigan State a couple of times this year. I think they're a better team than they were last year, but Jonathan Smith I feel like he doesn't have the talent right now that he had at Oregon State. Those Oregon State teams were kind of
DJU as his quarterback, and he made him good. So like, he
had a lot of he had like 3 NFL offensive linemen on that team. He had a stacked defense.
Okay.
Like DJU got
DJ
carried.
His
talent at Oregon State was better than it was at Michigan State.
Michigan State should have lost to BC this year. That's like, I don't actually know if they're improved. Like they're struggling badly. But
I mean, Aiden Giles has been sacked 15 times. Like, that's not good. It's just a mess. They can't really run the ball. They're averaging 3.8 yards per carry as a team. It's just a mess.
They have Michigan State, their schedule at Indiana, Michigan, at Minnesota, Penn State, Iowa, Maryland. Can they make a bowl?
No.
Can they make 5?
How many wins do they have?
They have 3. They're 3-3.
It's going to be close.
I mean, I think they can beat
Minnesota. Maybe.
We'll see what Penn State, dude. We'll see what Penn State's like.
That's true. They could beat Penn State. I mean, all right. Washington beat Rutgers 38-19. Damon Williams was amazing. That's Sam's guy. And he's quite good. Rutgers going to the West Coast. That was never going to be good. And then Minnesota beat Purdue and no one cared. Independence and G6. Notre Dame spanked NC State. They covered a big ass spread. Sets up a huge game with USC next weekend. Navy stays unbeaten. They got my Temple Owls. Ballsy 2-point call at the end of the game to win and stay unbeaten. Good for Navy. Nice win. USF, shaky start, but they turned it on at North Texas. I mean, that was turning it on really doesn't do it justice, Sam. Like they put out the whip, man, or I should say belt to ass type situation.
Yeah.
It got ugly down in Denton. They moved to 5-1. Although South Florida, despite having what I consider to be a bunch of good wins, they're only 47th in the SP Plus.
Weird.
That's strange to me.
It'll get better as they keep winning. Also, Damon Williams, only the 16th player in college football history to have 400 pass yards and 100 rush yards in a game.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Damon Williams will win a Heisman. I'm calling it right now.
I love that for you.
Yep.
ODU got pummeled by Marshall. The playoff talk was ridiculous. JMU will also beat them. Good job by you. What's his name? The coach from NC State. Tony something.
Tony
Gibson.
Gibson.
Yeah.
Yes.
And shout out to the Thundercast, friends of the program.
Oh, yes.
Big win for the Kelly Green and Black.
Giant win. Pitt took out Florida State in the ACC 34-31. Norvell seemed quite pissed after the game. Heinzel was great again for Pitt. They got something there. 321 yards, 11 yards per attempt, 64 rushing yards, a 73 QBR in Doak. He shook off those early interceptions. The FSU defense was terrible. I mean, this team, I'm not going to say they're rudderless, but like it's starting to look that way.
Norvell's in hot water. Like he is. I mean, they go to Palo Alto and play at 10:30 on Saturday.
That's not good for a team on a losing streak right now.
No, it's not.
If he gets beat at Stanford, like that's it.
Little money line sprinkle.
That's it.
That's
over.
Little sprinkle.
I sent this to the group
chat. You got to sprinkle.
Mike Norvell has won one ACC game in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
Brett Pry's won more than that. Like, come on.
He's going to Stanford. Then he's got Wake. You think Wake's going to be easy for Florida State?
Nope.
No. And then they have at Clemson. And then they have us. So, I mean, they might have an interim coach by the time they get to Virginia Tech. Like, they really might.
I hope they don't, and I hope we're the reason he gets fired.
That would be fun.
Oh, that'd be so fun.
That would save the season a bit. If they don't make a bowl or if they lose this weekend, he's done, would be my guess. But they're 0-3 in the ACC right now. Clemson smoked BC in the most predictable cover of the weekend. I did have that in my picks. Wake crushed the Beavs. That got their coach fired. And SMU whipped Stanford. With regard to BC, Bill O'Brien, I don't know if BC cares enough to fire him, but it's been pretty bad.
It's almost hockey season.
Yeah, it is almost hockey season. Best QBRs of the weekend: Devin Dampier, Taylon Green, who is awesome, by the way. Jaden Denegal from San Diego State was number 3. Haynes King, and then DeMond Williams, number 5.
Someone to look for in all this coaching carousel madness, Sean Lewis, head coach of San Diego State, did wonders with Kent State, did a really good job as the OC at Colorado, and is doing a phenomenal job for the Aztecs.
I like that guy. I like that guy a lot.
Very good football coach.
I think he got a raw deal at Colorado. All right.
He's an OC I would pay a lot of money for.
All right. So here, let's do our segment that should have been earlier in the show. We're almost 2 hours in, but let's get to the top 5 quarterbacks in college football. And as always with my slides, graphic design is my passion. So I hope you enjoy it. For the people that are listening, what I wanted to talk about, and maybe let me take this off the screen. I shouldn't have put it up so early, but people didn't read all that anyway. What played into this when we talk about top 5 quarterbacks, I asked the fellas to come up with the quarterbacks they'd want for one game. Maybe it's a playoff game, maybe it's a championship game, but who in college football would you want for one game, and rank them 1 through 5? And what played into mine was longevity and experience. You know, how long have they been in college? What have they done? Stats, of course, efficiency, big time moments, and leadership. So all of those things kind of coalesce into the rankings. And so, Sam, I want you to give me your number 5 quarterback first, and we can kind of go through them quickly here. I know we're deep in the pod.
Are we going to pull up the list? I need to make sure I don't miss the name.
I can pull up the list.
Yeah, pull it up, because my number 5, DeMond Williams. I think he has what he lacks for experience. He has an explosiveness. He's a true dual threat. He can run. He will run. He is electric. He does a great job of keeping his eyes down the field. If you need one game and you need somebody to go off, DeMond Williams is your guy.
Robert, who's your number 5?
I got Jaden Mayava from USC. Honestly, really thought about putting him higher. I actually just placed a bet on him at plus 2,500 to win the Heisman. I placed that bet today. He has been arguably the most efficient quarterback in the country this year. He is number 1 in QBR right now. And yeah, the only reason I had him lower is, he hasn't been tested in any like big games per se yet. And, also has had some down moments like last year, especially that are cause for concern, but like he has been rock steady this year. And I'm a huge fan of his.
My number 5 was Ty Simpson. And after Florida State, he has been nothing but fantastic. He beat Vandy, he beat Georgia, and he just won at Mizzou in back-to-back-to-back weeks. He's 16th in QBR. He's 11th in passer rating in the country. 18 touchdowns, 1 interception. Like, Ty Simpson is phenomenal. And I think Robert just named Maeva. Maeva appears on 3 of the lists. We've got Pete, Sam, Robert, and Brett are the guys who did the rankings. Maeva is on 3 lists, and Simpson is also on 3 lists. Sam, who's your number 4?
My number 4, which is very similar to my number 3, I might group them together. It's Diego Pavia is my number 4. Haynes King is my number 3. And these are 2 guys who are just absolute gamers, and they play very similar. Running the ball is their best threat, but they're also very efficient and safe passers. Not a lot of interceptions, very efficient. They can push the ball down the field when needed. They're very good at running the RPO option style offense. Both of those guys are proven winners, proven gamers. I love how they play. I'd go to war with either of those guys. They're absolutely awesome quarterbacks.
Yeah. Rob, who do you have it for?
I've got Mendoza. Again, I mean, it feels like picking nits not having him higher, but he has just been so steady and minus that like glaring pick 6. I would feel confident if I had a good team and a good system and I was going to plug him into it for a game. I know and I feel confident that he would run it well. And ultimately, like that's, he might not elevate my team on his own, but he's gonna do what I need him to do.
Mendoza is the only quarterback that appears on all 4 of our lists. So that is notable. He would be, if we're doing a composite, he would be number 1 because no other quarterback appears on all 4 lists. And in my number 4 spot, I have King. And Sam mentioned him a little bit because of that dog mentality and just being a winner, which he is. And that's a bigger factor with King than some of these other guys. He's a true dual threat, top 15 in QBRs 2 years in a row, plays up to his competition. Now, sometimes he plays down too, but he plays up to his competition. So if you're talking about a championship game, that's who I want. He's tough. He beat a top 10 Miami last year. He damn near beat Georgia in overtime. Undefeated this year, beat Clemson, put the team on his back to beat Wake. I am firmly in the camp that he is in the top 5 of a one quarterback, or I should say a quarterback you'd want for one game. Number 3 on your board, Robert.
Sorry, Mike was messing up. I have Dante Moore from Oregon. Again, I know, obviously this past week wasn't great for him. I don't think his offensive line did a good job of protecting him. He came into the game having only been sacked once, and he was sacked 6 times by Indiana. And just, I think he kind of got the yips, but overall, I think in terms of just arm talent and composure and running ability, and I think in just all the traits you look for, I think I would argue that Dante Moore is the most complete quarterback in the country.
Wow.
And and that's more theoretical. Like, that's not like,
of course, yes.
Yeah. But I think that there are no glaring weaknesses in his game. His only weakness is experience. And I'm just a huge fan, and I would feel pretty confident having it.
Okay. In my number 3 spot, I have Maeva, and Robert already mentioned him as in his number 4, but I just did want to say he's the number 1 quarterback in QBR in 2025. He's 3rd in passer rating. He's at over 300 yards per game. He beat Michigan, played well against Illinois. And last year, he played well against Notre Dame as well. Now, he has had interceptions against every good team he's played, but I'm overlooking that because when he's excellent, like, it's hard to match what he can do. So he is my number 3. Sam already mentioned his number 3. So who's at your number 2, Sam?
It's Fernando Mendoza. I mean, he's doing great with Indiana this year. Let's not forget what he did with Cal. I mean, 98 yards with the boys. Never forget it. This guy's kind of a gamer, and he's not getting the credit for that he deserves. He can run as well. I think that is a part of his game where it feels like Indiana is going to be in a playoff game, and they're going to have a 3rd and 8 in the 4th quarter, and nobody's going to be open downfield, and he's going to scramble, and he's going to pick up 8 yards on the sidelines because he's that kind of baller. So Fernando Mendoza, I think there's a real shot he's the number 1 overall pick.
Oh my God.
In the draft. I really do. I think he's going to continue to impress people, and he's going to look. I mean, this dude in Indianapolis on the combine is going to look amazing.
And he's smart as shit too.
Yes. I mean, he looks like an NFL quarterback right now for Fernando Mendoza.
All right, Robert, who's your number 2?
Ty Simpson. And honestly, my reasons for Ty Simpson are almost entirely the same as Sam's for Mendoza. I think that they're very, very similar players in a lot of ways. I think that Ty Simpson at this point, though, and I credit Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb for this too, because they clearly have just poured every ounce of knowledge they have into him. Makes me wonder why he didn't play last year over Milroe, but that's neither here nor there. He's just like, it's almost like Will Howard at Ohio State last year, where he's just a machine. And it's just like, yeah, he has a really good offense around him, but ultimately it's like he makes the right read every single time.
Yeah.
And there's just, again, he wasn't great against Florida State, but like from that point on, he's been the best quarterback in the country from that, after that first game. Like, he has been unbelievable. He made every big throw they needed him to make against Missouri, every single one.
Yep.
And he might not be the highest ceiling player, but man, his floor looks pretty damn high right now.
It does. My number 2 was Carson Beck, which I don't think he made either of your boards. He did make Brett's board. He has the 4th best completion percentage in the country at 73%. He's top 15 in QBR for 3 years in a row. He's number 6 this year, by the way. Been in a ton of huge games. Won the SEC last year, which was the best conference in college football. So I know that he's always had a lot of talent around him, and that could be the knock on Carson Beck. But he has 5 top 10 wins in his career. And I'm not including the Florida State bowl game win when they were completely depleted. I'm talking about real games that people were engaged in mattering in. 5 top 10 wins for Carson Beck. So if you're asking me for one game to go win a championship, I would trust him in my number 2 spot for sure. Sam, did I get your number 2?
I got Mendoza.
You got Mendoza. So who's your number 1?
Mayava. And I just want to point out how amazing he has been through these first half of the season. His QBR right now of 93.1 would be 8th best all time.
Wow.
Oh.
He's stuck in between Andrew Luck and Tua Tagovailoa.
Well, he's got to play some more tough games, but that is impressive.
ahead of both of Baker Mayfield's seasons at Oklahoma.
Wow.
Like this
Baker
guy
was unbelievable.
This guy is running this offense to an elite level. They are number 1 in pretty much every advanced offensive metric, opponent adjusted. This guy is just playing unreal football right now. He's the perfect quarterback for Lincoln Riley's system. And let's not forget, he was at UNLV at the backup. He forced his way into that starting position. Then he transfers to USC, forces his way into that starting position. He has had issues throughout his career, but guys, he is a much better quarterback this year than he was last year, which is a better quarterback than he was the year before. Just his ability to see the field is really, really impressive. I think he's going to give Notre Dame a lot of troubles on Saturday night.
No doubt. Absolutely no doubt about that. Rob, who's your number 1?
This is the unique one that neither of you have on your list, and I have him number 1, but it's John Mateer. And that's going to sound crazy after the piss poor showing he had on Saturday.
He was hurt, and we know he was hurt.
And he was hurt, and I'm choosing to look at the whole sample that we have of him, and that's an unbelievable season at Washington State. Washington State last year, and this year, statistically, he hasn't been lights out per se, but you talk about that gamer type of player, like he has made every big play that they've needed him to make prior to the injury. And, he put the team on his shoulders for that Auburn game, like had the game winning drive. He really is like Baker Mayfield Jr. It's so uncanny how similar they are. And I just think he can make every throw. He can make every run. I just think he's pound for pound the best quarterback in the country right now.
I think he is the best off-schedule quarterback in the country. Like when things break down, if he's having to avoid a sack or something, not against Texas, but in general, he is amazing at it. And he will make these crazy arm angle throws, like perfect dots, like to a cutting player when he's way outside the pocket. It's really impressive. He's just a bit too chaotic for me to have made the list. He is number 5 on Brett's list. So he's on 2 lists. And I think if he was fully healthy and had a good showing against Texas, like he might be on all of our lists. But his numbers are a little bit down. Like he doesn't have a great QBR, and some of that's dragged down, but it wasn't great before this past week. But I totally understand why you would put him at the top of the list. There's a reason that OU went out and got him in the portal, and he was one of the most coveted players. My number 1 is Mendoza. We've talked a lot about him already. He's 4th in passer rating in the country. He's 7th in QBR. He killed at Illinois. He just won in Eugene for the best win that anybody has in the country right now is what Mendoza just got. He's smart. He has 19 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He's my number 1. I think he's phenomenal. He made all of our lists. I don't think anyone would argue that that's a bad choice. So that's cool with me. As for guys who didn't make our list, what do you think's like the number 1 honorable mention here, Sam?
I mean, for me, it would be Mateer or Simpson. I think Mateer's talent is up there, but he has not played up to it this year. Simpson is playing his way into it this year, but I also think Simpson is in many ways a product of the team around him. And that's not really a knock against Simpson. It's just he is a national championship quarterback in many ways, where he lets his defense work, gets good field position, runs the ball to Jam Miller, gets the ball where it needs to go. Another guy that I would really look at here, if you needed one win, Blake Horvath at Navy is just a gamer, man. And he's done it for multiple years at Navy in multiple different ways. He's awesome. So Blake Horvath deserves to be up there.
There's a guy that hasn't been mentioned that I'm a little surprised Sam hasn't mentioned him yet, but there's two guys that I think could have made any of our lists and it wouldn't have been surprising. And the first is Sam Levitt. And I know
he was up there too. Yeah. He's awesome.
Okay. Robert's shaking his head. No,
I'm not a Levitt guy.
They haven't scored a lot this year, and he has a very talented wide receiver to throw to. Like, I think some of his he's a gamer, but a lot of his numbers last year
they're way down.
Were toss the ball to Scattaboo and let him do work.
Mm-hmm. When he makes a highlight play, though, it's a really, it can be so impressive. Like he really has all the tools. But yes, his numbers are way down. That's why he didn't make my list. Marcel Reed would be another one. I think was he on Brett's list? Hold on a second.
He was
Brett. Yes, he's number 3 on Brett. So Brett's list is Simpson, Beck, Reed, Mendoza, Mateer. So he did include Marcel Reed on his list. Marcel Reed is undefeated. He won at Notre Dame. He also beat Auburn, Mississippi State, Florida. 36th in rating, 41st in QBR. So his advanced stuff is lower, but he is undefeated. So I think it's worth mentioning. Talon Green.
Yeah. He's balling, man.
Dude, the problem is they've lost those close games. And when you lose those close games, it's hard to put someone like that on the list. He's second in the country in QBR. Like he is 7 yards per carry. I mean, he's doing it on the stat sheet, but because of a variety of reasons, the wins aren't coming. Is there anyone else like you want to mention here? Like top flight quarterbacks in the country that you're watching? Maybe young guys that need to improve.
Yeah, young guys, great. I think that maybe I might not say he's here right now, but at the end of the year, I might say he's there. Is CJ Carr at Notre Dame?
Very good. Yeah.
CJ Carr has been awesome for Notre Dame this year. And even in those 2 losses, he didn't necessarily play bad in those games.
No,
it was more Notre Dame's defense got very surprisingly dominated by 2 teams who are now in the top 4 in the country. But Carr has been lights out.
I was extremely impressed with him. And Julian Sand is completing 78% of his passes. He seems like he's going to be great. It's just there wasn't enough there right now for me to put him in a top 5.
Yeah, it's some quick names to just shoot off from the hip. Josh Hoover at TCU.
Yeah, he's a good.
Has a lot of talent. He's had a couple bad games. Baron Morton, I think, is up there too. Baron Morton has done the job at Texas Tech. He hasn't
might be the best quarterback on his roster.
I mean, he hasn't been asked to do a whole lot. Colton Joseph at Old Dominion, man, he's putting up some numbies, and I know we don't like it very much, but his improvement from last year to this year as a young quarterback, Colton Joseph is going to be paid next year by somebody. That's for sure. And Darian Mensah is playing really well for Duke. That's an interesting game. Georgia Tech traveling to Duke.
Oh yeah.
I have already placed a bet on Georgia Tech money line.
Yeah, they're
Darian
underdog.
Mensah can sling it.
What about Sawyer Robertson?
I was about to say Sawyer Robertson.
I've been a little
country in
disappointed with Baylor.
And Rob, it's not even close.
He's got 2,000 yards.
It's crazy.
They're he's classic Big 12 quarterback. I mean that as a compliment and
and he has to throw a lot because his defense is so bad and it kind of builds on itself. Have you seen what the new Marshall quarterback is doing?
Del Rio Wilson, Carlos Del Rio Wilson.
Yes, he's completing 76% of his passes. He has the best passer rating in the country. So that is a reason they beat Old Dominion last week. Just putting that on people's radar screen. That was a great segment, guys. Thank you for doing the research. Thank you for getting that all ready for me. Sam, let's do playoff picks quick. We'll talk about next week and get out of here.
Mine are actually pretty easy. These mine, yeah. But okay, SEC, you're down to 4 teams. Sorry, Oklahoma, you're out of here. Texas, I'm not ready to put you in there with 2 losses yet. So in the SEC, I got Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Alabama, and Georgia. From the Big Ten, keeping it the same, Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana. In the ACC, I'm keeping it the same, Miami and Georgia Tech. In the G5, I'm keeping it the same, Memphis, although USF is closing in. Boise State is out of it, unfortunately, but I think they're a better team than their record. Navy is still alive in that, as well as is JMU, I think, if they can run through the Sun Belt. And in the Big 12, I now have 2 teams, Texas Tech and Utah. I think Utah is going to have some really impressive wins. And if their only loss is against Texas Tech twice, they might be able to sneak in there if the cards fall a certain way. Or if they end up winning the Big 12, there they go. Okay.
I had to put this on the screen because what's funny about this, I just added Sam's playoff picks. If you look at Utah's logo, it's the flat U over U,
which is a downgrade from what they did have.
Tech just is changing their logo too to a flat T over T, and this is the Texas logo, which I said resembles the 2 Deep Virginia with 2 beers on it, which it does. Yeah, but you don't like this change.
I think I liked the bevel.
Okay. And the bevel is what you see here. They're traditional.
Yeah. And I also think Utah downgraded. I missed the circle. It was basically the old Redskins logo with the U instead of but
modern graphic design is an atrocity.
Yeah. After I do my read through here, Rob, I want to ask you if you have any opinion changes. But me and Sam have the same SEC teams right now. We have 4 from the SEC: Ole Miss, A&M, Alabama, Georgia. Big Ten is the same, although if USC beats Notre Dame or they beat Oregon, like USC has a chance to enter this. But right now it's Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana. ACC, I've got 2 teams. The path for Georgia Tech and Miami is there. Like they might not do it, but the path to 11 wins for both of these teams or more is there. Independent, I have Notre Dame in. Sam does not. I think Notre Dame is going to run the table. I think they're going to beat USC this weekend, and I think they're going to be in the playoff. I have 1 team from the Big 12 for that similar reason. It's Texas Tech. I think they're far and away the best team, although BYU and Utah are going to make a case. And in the G5, I have Memphis. Rob, would you make any major changes? Do you have Notre Dame in, first and foremost?
I think I'll throw out the caveat of whoever wins between USC and Notre Dame this weekend, I would have in. Right now, I'm going to predict that would be USC, actually. Okay. While I do believe that Notre Dame is far and away one of the 12 best teams in the country, I think their schedule, ultimately, you're not going to get in with 3 losses.
No, you're
not. That sucks, but like it just kind of is what it is. You got to win one of those games. So I would have USC in as a 4th Big Ten team. I would swap out Georgia for Oklahoma still. Oklahoma is a team that I believed in a playoff would be a playoff team at the beginning of the year. I just think this is just one bad performance. You flush it. Meanwhile, Georgia has not really looked good for a few weeks now. And like they kind of, maybe they should have lost that Auburn game. I don't know. It's not a typical Georgia defense. Stockton, I'm not fully bought in yet. Their run game is fine. Like everything about Georgia is fine.
It's just their schedule is so much more manageable.
It is. No, that's fair.
That's where I came down.
Yeah, I get that.
And that's another reason why I had Tennessee in there for so long, is because it's not because I think Tennessee is all that good.
Mm-hmm.
They're good, but like their schedule is more manageable. Now, Tennessee plays Alabama. That's why they're not in here. They're going to lose that one. They're probably going to lose another one, and I just don't think they'll make it. But there's a lot of, and this USC game against Notre Dame really is pivotal. Like, and I said this to Sam. I said it's a spot for Notre Dame or the Big Ten, because even if USC wins but then loses to Oregon, well, that means it's a spot for Oregon. It's going to help the Big Ten immensely if USC wins that game, and probably USC first and foremost. But it'll be residual wins for other teams. So it's huge. It's for Notre Dame, it's absolutely a playoff spot on the line.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say about Georgia too is, I mean, they play Ole Miss, like that's huge. I think if you're Georgia, you can only afford one more loss. I think that's the case for all these SEC teams, is you can only afford 2 losses. Can Georgia Tech knock Georgia out of the playoff?
They almost did last
year.
They
almost did.
Well, no, they didn't, because Georgia still would have played for the SEC title game, I guess.
Right, right. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know.
I mean, Georgia Tech is good enough to beat Georgia. They are good enough to beat Georgia. They are. And they play. They can lose to Wake. They should have lost to Wake, but they could also beat Georgia. Like, that's what Georgia Tech is.
That's Haynes King for you. And then the only other change I would make, Texas Tech, no doubt. I have Tulane in the G5 spot still. I don't feel great about that. Like, I don't think Retzlaff is a very good passer. But I do just like the speed overall that Tulane has right now.
Dude, I love that.
That's subject to change.
I love Tulane's running back, dude. That guy is a freaking monster.
He is. Yeah.
Week 8 games. What a weekend we have ahead of us. And we'll close out with this. Louisville at Miami. This is actually
big game.
Big game, because Louisville only has 1 loss. I mean, Louisville runs the table in the ACC in the regular season. They're in the playoff probably. So
and it's an overtime loss too.
It is. But they are 13.5-point dogs going to Miami.
Louisville's going to struggle defensively in this game, I think.
These teams have like a little bit of a thing the last couple of years. Like, they've played some good games. Miami's going to beat them. Like, I don't know if they'll cover, but they're going to
too big of a line for me to bet Miami, but also one of those lines where I can't bet Louisville.
No. LSU at Vandy is a very interesting game, because this is one of those games Brian Kelly has to have, and he very well might not get it.
And he's a dog. He's a road dog.
He's a road dog, yeah.
Give me the Commodores in this one.
Like, LSU, a dog at Vandy, like, that is like a preposterous thought 2 years ago. Like, for a decade, that's a preposterous
And the action is actually on Vandy last I checked. Like, they were -2.5, but the odds were juiced.
I mean, they're a better
LSU
team. Nuss got his ass kicked this past week. Like, he got the shit kicked out of him all game long, and it's probably going to be more of that. And
Vandy's coming off a bye.
Sam has Pavia in his top 5.
I've already bet Vandy money line. It's already placed.
They're ready to go here. Yep. So that's a tough spot. GT at Duke. This is a dangerous spot for Haynes King and Georgia Tech. Absolutely dangerous spot. Duke is favored at Wallace Wade. I would imagine it'll be a pretty strong Georgia Tech crowd.
Yeah, I'm going Georgia Tech here. I think they're a better team. I don't think Duke is very good. Don't think Duke's defense is good at all. And I think Georgia Tech can kind of control tempo, which is something that Duke's opponents that they've played so far this year have not been able to do.
Yeah. Georgia Tech has been better in the secondary than the run defense. What does Duke want to do? They want to pass the ball.
Yep.
So I like Georgia Tech to win the game outright, but we'll see. OU at South Carolina. Rob, it seems like a game that you will be interested in. South Carolina +3.5.
It's such a classic. This is a classic Shane Beamer win. It just is. And I'm not going to pick it, because I do believe that Oklahoma will still, I think Oklahoma's going to pull it out. But I think it's going to be a really ugly football game.
Like, you think it's going to be a 3-point game? Like, you think Scar's going to cover potentially?
I hate betting a spread that small in general. So I like that. Like, if the score's 21-17, like it's a really shitty way to lose. But I think it's a possession for sure.
Ole Miss at Georgia. Georgia 7.5-point favorites. That's too many to me.
That's a lot of points, but I would also say that I feel like Georgia has an extra gear that Ole Miss hasn't shown this year.
Well, they certainly didn't show it last week.
Yeah, I mean, it's
You're not totally wrong
has
on
Ole Miss
that.
played with their food against Kentucky and Washington
was
State,
the game?
or are they just not that dominant?
2 weeks ago, Ole Miss beat somebody really good. I'm trying to think. Like, they had a game where they didn't leave a doubt, but typically
Tulane, they beat the crap.
Well, yeah, they beat the brakes off Tulane. I thought there was an SEC team in there too, but they do have a tendency to play with their food with lower tier teams.
Yeah.
I feel like they're good enough to cover 7 points. Like Robert was just saying about Georgia. Like, what's the good part of Georgia?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
they
win football games. Like
they do win.
That's my thing. If you bet against Georgia playing at home in between the hedges, you're going to feel kind of silly.
They've already lost there once.
It's a Bama.
Texas Tech goes to Arizona State. This is Sam's two teams.
Is Sam Leavitt playing like it? Like that
know.
is such a big deal
11
for
and
me.
a half
Also,
right now.
dude, I think Arizona State's not very good on the line of scrimmage right now. Utah dismantled them. Like, I know Sam Leavitt was out, but Sam Leavitt doesn't play defense, and Utah ran all over him. Now Texas Tech gets to play them. Like, it's just a bad matchup for Arizona State right now.
I'm not going
with or without Sam Leavitt.
Texas Tech again. I'm just not going to do it. So
don't do it. Don't do it.
Tennessee,
don't go against Big Oil. Doesn't work. Hasn't worked out for many, many people, Pete.
Tennessee at Bama. This is awesome. Rivalry. Bama 9.5 point favorites. I think the line is fair, but in the rivalry, like, I feel like Heupel can do enough to keep it closer than that.
It's going to be really tough for Tennessee to get enough stops in this game. I feel like their defense,
Yeah.
I feel like, has taken a step back. They allowed 31 against Arkansas. That's a good Arkansas offense, but I'm not totally sold on Tennessee's ability to stop anybody. They gave up a bunch of points to Georgia, especially in the second half of that game. Tough spot for Joey.
The
Aguilar,
Tennessee
too.
defense has been a little underwhelming. I expected them to be a little bit more.
And this is the best
out.
offensive line they'll play all year.
Yeah.
And I mean, and Aguilar's been really, really good, but I don't expect him to win like a full-on shootout against arguably the best passing offense in the country.
And Bama's secondary. Like, I think it's an improved unit. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens there. USC at Notre Dame. Go ahead, Rob. You can finish.
I was just going to say, there's that one guy for Alabama, number 1. I don't know what his name is, but I had a friend of mine who's an Alabama fan who's like, we need to bench that guy after he gave up that first touchdown to the tight end, because instead of like going to tackle the tight end, he just ran out of bounds, like straight up, like chickened out, like 100%. So as long as that guy's not out there, they'll be great.
That goes against my narrative, but yeah, I do actually remember that. USC at Notre Dame. Notre Dame 8.5 point favorites.
It's still 9.5 in places.
How the heck? Okay.
Way too many points. Too many points.
My first gut reaction last week against NC State was way too many points. Full disclosure, I did end up picking Notre Dame later in the week, and I
think this is going to be a really good game, and that's way too many points.
USC is really. I tend to agree.
Though.
I tend to agree right now, and I know. I think I know what Robert's thinking. He's a big USC guy.
Yeah, I mean, the only concern is the run game for USC because they're down to walk-on running backs, but Notre Dame's defense also hasn't been great. So
no, it hasn't.
And I don't think they're going to stop Mayava. So I don't see how this isn't a possession game.
I did think CJ Bailey was going to do better against that defense.
But that's
this is.
I know it's different. It's different levels. I understand, but like CJ Bailey, Jolly, Smothers, like,
I mean, they gave up like 40 something to A&M at home at night. Now they're playing a better offense.
I mean, I like USC against the points. I do. Utah at BYU in the Holy War. Last game.
Utes.
Yeah. Utes.
BYU underdog in Provo. That doesn't happen too often, man.
Yeah, that doesn't happen a lot. I think BYU's record is a product of their schedule less than their team.
I mean, I thought they would lose to Arizona. I thought they were going to
No
lose
pun
to Arizona
intended.
last week, and they really should have. And I
Mhm.
think that the Arizona coaches like Brent Pry. Like that guy, he's soft.
Loser.
He was bad.
He's
He was
soft.
so bad.
I can't believe Oregon's going to Rutgers this weekend. Like that is the funny, and that's a conference matchup. It's 17.5. We mentioned it. So weird. Does Oregon get it done in the train horn?
I'm going to go 48, 17 Ducks. Big.
Dude, I don't know. I'm
Angry Quacks. Angry Quacks.
I'm worried about Oregon. When I asked
Rutgers
you guys that
can't
earlier,
play defense.
Yeah.
I'm not
Rutgers
worried
just gave
about
up
Oregon.
500 plus to one player.
Yeah.
This
I
is
just
the
feel
kind
like-
of game where Oregon smashes, like in general.
Or it's
But
just
they
a
but they didn't
disgusting
cover
game.
against Northwestern. They didn't cover
Right.
against Northwestern on the
Oh,
link.
they didn't cover at the very, very tail end of that game. What time is this game being played? That actually might decide.
6:30
Rutgers is
local,
better at night.
or 7 local, I think.
Rutgers
It's a
Seven
night
local?
game.
better at night.
It's a night game in New Jersey.
But that's
So-
better for the body clocks for Oregon. Is that
Callie,
right?
Ethan McManus has been playing really well.
Yeah.
They don't have an offensive line at all, but Ethan McManus is actually playing pretty good football
He
right
is.
now. For
No,
Rutgers.
he is. I'm
Um,
surprised how good that
yeah.
guy ended up being because I didn't.
He's
think that
developed
would be
really well.
possible.
Their defense is terrible though.
Yeah, which is odd for a Shiano team. Well, that's going to do it. We covered everything known to man in this episode.
Really, we can really chop this one up.
we can get a few segments out of it because I guarantee you a lot of people did not see our top 5 quarterback segment. So I might have to make that a separate video. But if you did stick with us till the end, we need a safe word. Sam, do you have one for me?
Yeah, the safe word for today will be Piscataway.
Finishing it off strong. Put Piscataway in the comments on YouTube if you made it to the end of the episode. And if you did, we really appreciate it. Thank you for the comments. I didn't present this one earlier, but Alex said if they were going to play pop, they would have by now. Yeah, a lot of us do kind of share that. Maybe it'll be different after the bye, but we're all going to be in Cal together. That is going to be so awesome. Robert, thank you for being here. Your insight is always appreciated. Make sure you're subscribed. Sons of Saturday on YouTube, Sons of Saturday podcast feed, Tootie podcast feed, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you set us up for automatic downloads. Even if you don't listen there, if you're a fan of the show, it's a very easy way to show your support. So that would be appreciated. Sam, any parting words? You good to go?
I'm good to go, man. Excited for this week.
Yeah, well, we'll talk some more about God knows what on Wednesday. But until next time, go Hokies.
Go Hokies.